You touch it where the little face is.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. We will call the Clovis City Council meeting to order for November 17, 2025 at 6 p.m. At this time, if you're able to, if you can rise for the flag salute led by Councilmember Ashbeck.
Please join me in saluting our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If our city clerk, Para, could call the roll.
Yes, Councilmember Ashbeck. Here. Councilmember Baskell. Here. Councilmember Bessinger.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pierce.
Here.
And Mayor Moanatua.
Here. Okay, next is public comments. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the council on an item within our jurisdiction, but it's not on the agenda. You have 3 minutes if you can step up to the podium. I think it looks like our youth commissioners. Hold on, we'll make sure. Okay, there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for all having us today. The City of Clovis Youth Commission would like to invite you to the Youth Commissioner's Threads of Joy, and it is a kids clothing shelter or a kids clothing drive for all seasons and for all kids, so 1st through 12th grade.
So basically what we're trying to do here is like, it's Christmas, it's December, you know, the vibes are going, so we want to give back. And you know, like in every Hallmark movie, how we always see about giving and like, it's like the Christmas spirit. So we're kind of trying to embody that because Clovis is all about like the festivities and giving back. So we want to give back to our community, to those who need it, and give children of all ages from 1st to 12th grade clothes and like, have a good Christmas overall in Clovis, yeah.
So we'd like to warmly invite everyone to participate in this drive. At these drop-off locations, we have the police department and fire headquarters, and we have the Clovis City Hall and Senior Center and the Clovis Recreation. So thank you, everyone.
Do you guys want to tell them the date that we are doing our kickoff and when it ends?
That would be important. So my first thing was to leave you in suspense, but I guess Brianna doesn't want that. So the date is December 1st to 8th, and donate as much as you can to those who need. And yeah, so guys, get those clothes in.
Okay. And Lynn,
So I have a
Councilmember
question.
Ashbeck has some questions for you.
Dear ones, me. So are these Christmas gifts or just, I love what you said. You said clothes pantry, I think, or shelter. So, but I mean, is this like clothes, not necessarily Christmas gifts, just clothes for
Yes,
kids?
correct. It's just clothes that are
Clothes for
new.
kids?
New clothes, because
New clothes.
yeah, we faced a lot of like dirty clothes when we said gently used, so we are wishing for new clothes so the kids have good material and good like clean clothes to wear.
So they're not going to be Christmas gifts necessarily.
not
just
Christmas
available
gifts.
for kids. And you're going to give them to
correct.
EPU and they're going to give them to their families?
Yes.
I love that so much.
Thank you.
And if we don't have any kids' clothes anymore that are new or otherwise, if we brought you like a gift card to Kohl's, would you go spend the gift card?
Yes.
On the children, not on yourself. No, I'm just
I
kidding.
guess. You ruined my plans.
I could see those wheels like, well, shopping, would they notice? Okay, so clothes or a gift card to someplace
Yeah,
like
that
Target
works
or Kohl's would be
perfect.
fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
love that.
It's all for the kids. I promise.
It's the 12th grader, so your size will fit.
Oh yeah, and my clothes look just like a high school senior. They would love
No,
this
you got all the
jacket.
fashion. You got all the
And
fashion.
this black turtleneck. You're welcome. I got extras, no problem. Well done.
Any other questions for our youth commissioners?
That's cute.
Excellent. Okay, and so this,
Good job, team.
and then I think Brianna and Chad will probably start getting this out on social media as well.
Yes, there are
Thank you.
flyers if you'd like to take one in the lobby right there. And just to note, it does start off on December 1st at our Christmas tree lighting. So we definitely welcome all of you to come.
Love that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to address the council?
Okay, Bill Scott, 341 Evergreen. Here I am again. A couple weeks ago, we had some people here that own small shops that you guys were going to start charging them $1,000 a year for a fee. And I got up and made an analogy that some people didn't think was very brilliant. Well, I've come up with another one. This one comes from Thomas Sowell, so hopefully this will be a little better. To kind of illustrate what you guys are, me personally, I don't like government. Government seems to be something that gums things up more than they do help things. And with these gentlemen that were here, they're Indian, some of them Sikh. They got up here, it was kind of hard to understand sometimes what they were saying. And I just kind of get the feeling that, well, you know, no big deal, they'll pay us $1,000. But to look at it from their end, and this is what Thomas Sowell came up. Say one of these guys, in his dealings with the people he buys things from and sells things to, gets the feeling that the people he's competing with show up in these fancy suits and so on, and they just don't have a chance against this. He's got some suit he picked up for $150 at Sears or whatever. And he's got it in his head, he wants to save up the money to buy a really good suit, have it tailor-made. Now, just for numbers, I'm gonna say, let's say it costs $1,000. So he's been saving up months and months and months to try and come up with this $1,000. And then here comes Clovis, says, we want you to give us $1,000. So now he can't get a suit made. Well, what's that do? The guy that was gonna make the suit doesn't know he lost the deal, but he did. This money would have gone to him, his profit would have been a little bit better, but there's no place to check this off that, you know, on his ledger or his taxes or anything, because he doesn't know it happened. But if it had happened, maybe it was enough to just put him over the top the end of the month enough to where he goes home and tells his wife, we had a really good month, let's go to Pismo. But it didn't happen, so he doesn't get to do that. So the hotel he would have stayed in, say, lost 2 hotel nights. The restaurants he went to lost a few meals. Maybe on the way home in Kettleman City, he would have stopped at In-N-Out and got a hamburger, if they don't need it, but that's 2 hamburgers they didn't sell, and the gas. And all this is what happens when he keeps the money. He's charging the economy and making it better. When you get the money, it just disappears. And I kind of put it as an analogy like this. Here comes my analogy. Let's say you're thirsty, and I go out and I get you something to drink. It's got a straw in it and a lid on it, and I give it to you, and you start sucking on the straw. And really quick, you can't get anything out of it. Well, I put a sponge in the glass. So you can suck on it all you want, and you can't get liquid out of it. Government's the sponge. If we had an economy and the water's or the Coke or whatever it is the money, the government's just sitting there soaking it up, and nobody gets any use out of it. So there's my analogy. I think you guys ought to think about what Thomas Sowell said. When they keep the money, what's going to happen to it as opposed to you getting the money?
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else like to address the council?
Could I just ask one thing? Anyone drive a Toyota Tacoma parked out in front here?
Where's our officer?
Is this
Someone, okay. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Steve Trevino. I live on Bullard Avenue. Just a little suggestion. The other day I was reading the Wall Street Journal, and there was an article about, I believe it was Louisiana, and it was kind of funny. I was surprised to see this, but their street sweepers, they put lemon scent in their they're city sweepers. And I was just thinking to myself, what if this month of December, that you guys put spearmint or peppermint scent in the sweepers? You know, that, and everybody would probably start laughing and just think, what's going on here?
Christmas everywhere.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Anyone else like to address the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion. Now we'll move to the consent calendar item. Consent items are routine in nature and considered and approved as one. We have items 1 through 7. Anyone on the council like to pull any of them? Okay. Anyone in the public like to address any of the items 1 through 7?
Eric Rollins, I live on Ashcroft Avenue. as I look through this, number 3, 4, and 5 seem like a big deal. I would really love the opportunity to just kind of understand what they are. I get that they're in the packet. Very few people ever make it as far as the packet. It's talking about our investment report, our treasurer's report, things like that. And for the sake of transparency, I just kind of would have felt more comfortable if there'd been a presentation that went with this, just so that people understand what's happening with government. Aside from that, I hope you're all having a good evening.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. And anyone else like to address any of the items 1 through 7? Okay, what's the pleasure of the council?
I'll
Bring
make
it
a
back.
motion to approve the consent calendar items number 1 through 7.
Wait a second. Second. Okay. And prior to the vote, I do want to make a couple comments. I didn't want to pull anything. I wanted to say with regards to, I think it was item, the EDC one, Chad, which one was that? Item 2, yeah. I wanted to just say that Chad's been working really well with the EDC. He participated in the CEDS, which is sort of an economic impact report study that allowed the EDC and also any agency to use that to go after more economic development grants. And I also wanted to say that the EDC, I was very happy to see that they reported on the NEO hires, this new employment opportunity. And so what it is it is a assistance program that allows those who are still in public assistance to be hired on. And for the first 6 months, you're refunded 100%, and then it decreases to 75 and 25. And so I just appreciate Will and Chad, you guys reporting on that and the dollars that we have had. I think it was over $650,000 today of, I guess, economic boost, and it is a government program already. And I also wanted to say that I appreciate, Will, your discussion with our GPAC committee just about economic development and the importance of that in a planning document like our general plan, and having Chad and then the staff also try to incorporate the CEDS into our general plan and some of those principles, because I think economic development is one of the pillars that will help fund the city and also help the city grow in a way that is important. So I wanted to highlight that. And lastly, Drew and I went with Will and them to the Semicon conference and to see how EDC, the city of Clovis, the city of Fresno, Fresno State is working to try to draw industry into this area. And I think formerly Mayor Bessinger was working even during his term already, and for us to continue to try to work and draw and bring high-paying tech jobs to this area. And I think our perspective is if it comes to Clovis, great, but if not, if it comes to this area, it'll allow our children to be able to work in high-paying jobs. And so I know we have a motion and second are on the floor. I don't have any questions. I wanted to just highlight that. Did you guys want to say anything before we voted?
We were kind of hiding around the corner, so we wanted to make sure that we heard you and that we appreciate the kind words. Will does have a quick update about the SEDS and where we are on it and when we'll be ready to come back with the presentation.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, well, thank you so much, Mayor, for those very kind comments, and we really do value the partnership with the City of Clovis, council, your staff. It really is reciprocal. We look at EDC membership as like a gym membership, and we're both working together. I think that's when we're all very stronger. With respect to the SEDS, we completed that process. We were able to get the Board of Supervisors to approve that document in draft form. The next steps is to get formal approval by the U.S. Economic Development Administration. While that approval was imminent, the government shut down, postponed those discussions by several weeks. So we're excited to pick things back up with our EDA representative. We don't anticipate major changes there, but I know they really appreciate the comprehensive engagement that occurred throughout the entire county among industry and many community-based organizations. We do think it's a model for planning processes like it in the future, and it included every single city and many unincorporated communities as well. So we're excited to work with city staff on the actions that can take place after that document is formally approved by EDA, but I think we're well positioned as a region to to secure future funding and support future projects.
Okay, thank you very much. No other conversations on this? Okay. All those in favor of the consent items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks for calling that out.
We have item 8. It is the introduction of an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Clovis amending sections 8.1.02, and do I have to read all of them? Okay, of Title 8 of the Clovis Municipal Code pertaining to the adoption of 2025 California Code of Regulations, Title 24, Building, Electrical, Mechanical, Plumbing, Residential, Energy, and Green Building, Existing Building, Historical, Reference Standards, and Administrative Codes. And staff on this is Jesse Newton, our building official. Go ahead, Jesse.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to bring this presentation to you. This presentation is informational only for the mandatory adoption of the 2025 California Code of Regulations. On January 1st, 2026, the 2025 California Code of Regulations will be in effect. The code adoption process occurs every 3 years. The next adoption is in 2029 for the 2028 California Code of Regulations. A little confusing at times. What's in the mandatory adoption? We have the California Building Code, residential, electrical, plumbing, mechanical, energy, and the green building standards that are within. The fire code will be reviewed by the fire department. Here are some examples of significant changes to the code. Vestibules, requirements for public entrances, like Walmart entrances, they have the double doors. Dwelling and townhouses on the same lot must now use the imaginary lot line to address fire separation. Changes to the bicycle parking for multifamily and non-residential projects. This is a big one. Dwelling units shall have the minimum of 190 square foot of habitable space. This would be in conjunction with one room of 120 square feet and a bedroom of 70 square foot for habitable space. There's also continued increases in energy efficiency requirements, examples, photovoltaic systems, energy storage systems, and fenestration like windows and insulation. Our outreach, Building Industrial Association of Fresno Madera County, BIA. We've been having meetings and email correspondence on the code updates since September 25. We have out notices to industry. Any process changes are being uploaded to the building page and emailed to the BIA, or in this case, the Building Industry Association. And once the adopted ordinance for the code will be approved, we'll put it on the web page. All code adopted documents or process changes will be available at the Planning and Development Services counter and on the building web page. We're also having, in coordination, code training workshop with the City of Fresno for their local customers, and ours also. So we have two new laws. We have AB 130, which includes HSC 13938.5. With the passage of AB 130, the conditions under which local governments may modify the state building standards for residential constructions have narrowed. Local governments may only do so if the amendment has findings that also meet one of the 6 specified criteria that they've placed on us. HSC 18938.5 applies to all future dwelling following the approved model home designs in the same jurisdiction unless the design significantly changes or 10 years have passed since the permit was approved, whichever comes first. This presentation was for information on the mandatory adoption for the 2025 California Code and Regulations, and I am open for questions.
Any questions of staff on this? Go ahead.
Jesse, I just had I think it's a typo question, which is so annoying. The staff report a couple times talks about local amendments adopted in 2014 based on the 2013 California. Is that not, is it 2024 and 2023? Because it says 2014 a few times, or are these codes that old?
Some of those codes are that old.
So that's really what you meant. So the local amendments are adopted, we last adopted these in 2014?
That is correct. That's
What?
the amendments.
Sort of like our water rates. They go about every decade, whether we need to update them or not. All right, I just want to make sure I was reading that correctly.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Mayor, if I could just clarify. So we have updated the code every 3 years, these various codes, but the last time local amendments were added was 2014.
All
Yeah.
right. Apologize for the
But the
typo
local
assumption,
amendments-
but I was like, how could that be?
Yeah, sorry, the local amendments did carry forward
Okay.
in each subsequent 3-year
Okay.
approval.
Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Just a question, Andy. The league never gets into this detail with even the housing economic development. And I wonder how much it really affects industry because, it just made it mandatory, but other codes, other amendments, the league, the housing at least, comments on it, gives you updates, and it's I don't know, I don't build, so I don't know how onerous many of these are, whether it is to us or to the industry, and yet, I don't know, how do we?
Well, they definitely have a big impact. They are not a legislative item. I believe it's a different board that oversees this process, if I'm looking at my building
That is
official.
correct.
Yeah. So the league has not definitely engaged with that body that actually creates and develops the code changes.
Okay, thank you. This time, we're going to go ahead and open up the public portion. If you are here to comment or give any questions on item 8, you may do so at this time.
Mike Prandini, 2062 Alamos in Clovis. When I was with the BIA, this issue was a every 3-year event, and the California BIA has representatives working with the Building Codes Commission to develop and approve these standards and these changes. So the California BIA and its and its members were involved in that process. Now, do they agree with all of them? Probably not, but at least they are involved and they are represented, and they also report on the financial impact of each one of these changes. So, but all I can say is they've been involved.
Thank you for that, Mike. Anyone else like to address the council on this? Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back. I think it's sort of a motion to approve, so, or is it just, it's not a receive and file, right? It says approve here, but then,
Yeah, introduce the ordinance.
You want the, I'll make a
Introduce-
motion to
okay.
introduce the ordinance of the city council on this, amending the sections as noted in the staff report.
okay, do you have a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion, second to introduce the ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. It's approved 5-0. Next is item 9. Consider various items related to amendments to the 2025 California Fire Code. We have 2 items here. Item A, making and adopting express findings to the 2025 Fire Code reasonably required based on local climatic, geological, and topographical conditions. Item B, amending various sections of Title IV, Chapter 4.4, Article 1 of the Clovis Municipal Code relating to the California Fire Code. And we have Garrett Rogers, Joshua Taylor, and Chad on this.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. It's my pleasure as I enter my twilight years in the career to hand over the code update to our esteemed fire inspectors here. You have 2 of the best fire inspectors in the valley. They do a great job serving the community. In addition, Rick Foltz is here. He's your deputy fire marshal. And if it weren't for the effort that he put into the technical piece of just going through all of this, it wouldn't get done. So you actually have the best deputy fire marshal in the state. That being said, part of the succession planning is letting these 2 gentlemen handle the report, and I'll turn it over to them.
All right, good evening, Mayor and members. My name is Garrett Rogers. This is Josh Taylor. We are the fire inspectors for the fire department. We're here to present the update to the municipal code, adopting the 2025 California Fire Code. The state of California publishes a new fire code every 3 years, so this is pretty routine. And cities are legally required to adopt it to enforce fire and life safety standards. Sorry. Updating our municipal code keeps us aligned with state law and ensures that we can continue to enforce the most current safety requirements for buildings, fire protection systems, and emergency access. And then Josh will provide you a few more details on those.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. For this code update, there are not many significant changes, additions, or deletions from what's already been approved in the previous cycle. The most notable update is the addition of a section addressing biosafety laboratories. As we all know, a biosafety lab was discovered operating within the city of Reedley without proper safety measures or regulatory oversight. The new section we are proposing clearly outlines the safety requirements necessary to operate any such laboratory within the city limits and incorporates the regulations already established in the California Fire Code. This helps ensure compliance and reduces the risk associated with these types of facilities. In summary, adopting the California Fire Code and our local amendments ensures that we maintain clear, enforceable safety standards that protects Clovis residents, businesses, and our firefighters. Thank you.
We're available for any questions.
Okay, any questions of our three gentlemen there? Go ahead, Lynn.
He didn't give a very long project to start him out.
Baby steps.
Start over. Let's do it all over again. No, I'm
If,
just
if they can get a 5.0 out of this, I think they're going to be ready for something more substantial later in their careers.
I did have two questions. One, in the findings about the necessity of the amendments, you had 4: fire lanes, access and fire lanes, address, identification, sprinklers, and cost recovery. 2 others came to my mind, and just a comment, I guess. One, we have talked about, is there anything new in here relative to the rural-urban proximity? We've talked so much about what happens when our city meets grassland or old, is there anything adjusted in that space or need, obviously you would have done it if it needed to be, but I'm just curious about that. We've talked about that relative to traffic and relative to fire and relative to buildings. So that comes to my mind. And the other thing that comes to my mind is elements around extreme heat and drought. So in my hospital life, those are big issues for health and hazards and all of that. And I just wondered how that translated to fire, heat and drought, and attention to those things in the fire code. Those are my 2 questions.
So with respect to the wildland-urban interface that you're talking about, where city boundary meets that rural area, we were here about 2 months ago with the state maps that were adopted to identify those medium and low and extreme high hazards.
Right.
If the state had determined in their analysis that those areas did present a high hazard, there would have been additional requirements that we would have had to adopt outside of the fire code that would have been more prescriptive with drive lanes, access, water, and things like that.
But because they didn't find us to be at any particular risk, nothing was additional in here? Okay.
Yeah,
that's
nothing
fair.
additional there for that.
That's
Now,
fair.
and as we go into those areas, even the one that's designated in the northeast that's medium, it changes that dynamic because typically in the city, we see those annexed areas then turn into developed areas, which changes the hazard profile.
Okay.
With respect to extreme climate and heat and water and things like that, within the fire code itself, there's not much that's there other than to ensure an adequate water supply that serves the area that we are going into, whether it's the sphere of influence or annexation and development that comes off of those opportunities. There's nothing else that really goes into the adoption of the fire code that addresses that particularly.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? I did have a question with regards to, Chad, when do we get a report on inspections and if sort of our businesses, homes up to date, not to date?
Sure. So annually, we bring back the fire department annual report. Within that, there is a designated section for prevention that speaks to the number of occupancies that are in the city and the inspections that go along with that. A subsection within the inspectable occupancies are those state mandated inspections. Those are required by the the state fire marshal's office, and we get 100% compliance every year and have to report that to the state. Occupancies that aren't state mandated, like simple restaurants, the mall, things like that, those are on a biannual inspection schedule for us, and the city's basically split in half, with Josh and Garrett taking one half or the other. So that we get in there, every occupancy at a minimum is inspected on a biannual basis, commercial occupancies.
And I appreciate sort of the bio lab update. I know it was very visible within the county and for us, just whether it's reactionary or just preventative for the future. Thank you for.
It's
doing
preventative, and
yeah.
that a lot of that, and thank you, because that was Rick's effort. He put a
Okay.
lot of work into that particular section and coordinated that with the code compliance section of the city.
And if I could add to that, Mayor, our fire team has brought the lessons from Reedley to Clovis and really provided a space for the Reedley experience to spread beyond Reedley. And Clovis has been taking that up. So I appreciate the effort that our fire department has taken with that issue here in Clovis, and it's spread beyond here.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Any other questions of the team? Okay, at this time, we're going to go ahead and open the public portion. Any comments or questions regarding item number 10 here? No, not 10, 9. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and close that and then bring it back to the council. What's the pleasure of the council?
Let's do this. I'll make a motion to approve the findings to the 2025 California Fire Code. Can I make one motion for both items?
Yep.
Braun is nodding, I'm going with yes. And then I'll also to amend the various sections of the Clovis Municipal Code relating to the fire code.
Okay. Second. We have a motion and second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We now move to item 10. Thank you.
Nice job.
Yep, great job.
And we didn't approve the twilight of anybody's career, so I don't know what you're talking about there. No, I said approve. I didn't say prove, I said approve. So that's still subject to discussion.
We will now move to item 10. It's SPR 2025-016, finding that no further environmental review is required pursuant to section 15183 of the CEQA guidelines and approval of the site layout and design of Loma Vista dual-use park and recharge basin, an approximately 12-acre park and recharge basin that is located at the intersection of Barstow and Agua Dulce Avenues. City of Clovis is the applicant. Staff on this is George Gonzalez, city planner, and Jacob Rodolphs, civil engineer, and Renee Mathis.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I'm pretty excited about the project that's before you tonight. So staff with me will be doing the bulk of the presentation, which is a request to approve a site plan for our newest project. So George, our city planner, who you're most familiar with, will be taking on the entitlement, and then Jacob Rodelves, who for the first time is presenting tonight. He's our project engineer in our engineering division. You might recognize the last name. Yes, there is a relationship. So I want to spend just a few minutes and talk about the unique design of the park that's before you tonight. So the city's general plan, our parks master plan, and our Loma Vista specific plan have earmarked the project that's up for consideration as a public open space recreational area. It's been on the books for decades. That's not uncommon. You have a general plan, you identify the land uses, it takes us some time to get out there. Each of these plans encourage a different form of active and passive recreation that offers a variety of multi-purpose uses. So, been on the books in early 2020, about 2022, Public Utilities came over to PDS and said there's really an opportunity for us with the Enterprise Canal and Dog Creek to do some groundwater, some recharge here. So I really want to complement the efforts of Public Utilities to come forward and say, we think we could do recharge. We want to, see what we can do at this site. And then, of course, planning has their planning hat on, saying, well, this is a park facility. How can we make it look and feel like a park, but really serve that dual use of recharge? So we reached out to Terry Broussard. He's a landscape architect to really start helping us come up with a concept that would look and feel like a lake, but below the water would be this really beneficial recharge use. And so Terry's early concept is what we then took on, and with the help of Jacob and planning, really made it a unique park site for Clovis. So you're gonna see that we took what would be, because Clovis does everything cool, we're not just ordinary, what would have been a really cool ordinary park site to an extraordinary, excellent park site. Extra cool. with that, dual use beneficial recharge component to it. So staff will get into the details of the time staff, has really spent trying to come up with some unique opportunities at this park site. It's one of a kind. It's not like any other park site in Clovis. You'll hear about all of the unique amenities and even down to the play equipment. We're really looking for some adaptive play equipment that we could eventually put into this park site that will be available to everyone. I mean, it's really cool. So with that, I don't want to take much more time. I'm going to turn it over to George and Jacob, and they will take you through the project.
All right, thank you, Renee, and thank you, Mayor, members of the council. We're excited, as Renee mentioned, to bring this site plan review application before you for your consideration this evening. It's important to note that the council did receive a correspondence for this item, which I'll touch on it a little bit later in the presentation during our public comment portion of the presentation. And also, I think it's just for FYI fact is that if council chooses to approve this project this evening, that means that we'll be left with 2 more parks in Loma Vista, community parks to complete, and then we'll be all completed in Loma Vista, which is a good thing. So the project is identified here in red on the screen. It is east of Leonard Avenue and north of Shaw Avenue. The project site in total is approximately 12 acres that the city, as Renee mentioned, acquired back in 2023. The site is designated park and open space in the Loma Vista specific plan, which we're proposing a use for this site here this evening. I'm going to hand it over to Jacob that he will be discussing the design of the park, and then it'll come back to me to talk about just some of the comments that we received from the public.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, George. Thank you, Renee, and good evening, Mayor and members of the council. Happy to be here and talk about this exciting project. Like Renee mentioned, this is a first in Clovis in a lot of ways, and we're excited to bring it to you guys, and we hope you like it. So jumping into the overall site plan, this project's going to have a 6.5 acre recharge basin, and this is formally known as the Loma Vista Recharge Basin. That's been discussed in the water rates presentations and also in the development impact fee presentations previously. So promises made, promises kept. Here's one of our big projects coming in the Loma Vista area. It's identified here in blue, so you can see it takes up a majority of the site. I will say this site is deceivingly small on the picture. It is a large site when you go out there. And so we're going to be building a trail system and the park around it, and that's what I'll be diving into here coming up. So we have the recharge basin. We're going to have 26 parking stalls. If you think that parking lot looks familiar, it's because it's in Pasatiempo. It's mirrored identically there with our trash enclosure in the middle. Parking stalls on both sides, and then 2 ADA stalls. We'll have 26,000 square feet of grass area. 8,000 square feet of that is going to be on the main lawn, which is towards the north. That's the northern red rectangle. And then the south lawn will have 18,000 square feet of open grass area with trees, for people to enjoy down towards the south end. The project will have 2 overlook areas. One will be attached to the main lawn, and that's going to be a shade structure with some swings, which I'll dive into that a little bit more in the next slides. And then the second overlook area is going to be on Dog Creek. So that's the one more to the east or to the right of your picture that you're looking at. So that will be a rest stop. There'll be a big tree there with 5 benches. Again, we'll have an image that can kind of provide you a visual of what this park is going to look like. We'll have a restroom facility with a shade structure on each side. We'll have a total of 4,400 feet, which is just under 1 mile, 0.8 miles of trail, and that's highlighted in yellow. So that would be, if you were going to start at, say, the south lawn and do that full circle, you would get to 0.8 miles. If you were to walk every piece of sidewalk and trail in this park, you'll get over 1 mile. We're excited about that. We'll have, as Renee mentioned, an ADA and all-age play structure and swings. And then we'll have a man-made creek with 2 one-foot waterfalls, and that's going to be between the Enterprise Canal and Dog Creek. Again, I want to emphasize this is man-made, and we really wanted to make this, again, park special. And so when water is in the basin, it'll recirculate to the top northeast corner of that creek, make its way down through 2 active falls, where we'll have a bridge crossing as well that will tie both sides of the trail together. Oops, we'll go back real quick. And then last, I wanted to mention, we do have the park and trail lighting. We'll have light bollards, which are your typical Loma Vista lantern lighting every 50 feet. And then we'll have the decorative LCN lantern lights that you see throughout the Loma Vista area, and then your typical parking lot lighting as well. So moving on to the park entry and on-site trail system, we have 4 main entrances at this park. 2 of them are going to be pedestrian entrances, and 2 of them are parking lot entrances. Like I mentioned, the parking lot, pretty self-explanatory for the vehicles. Again, mirrors Pasatiempo Park. The 2 pedestrian entrances are going to be, Sorry, I rotated you here. We're looking north is now to the right instead of page up. The pedestrian entrance number 1 is the Dog Creek Asphalt Trail. That is currently existing as it heads west towards Shaw. So if you were to jump onto Shaw Avenue on the trail, you can work your way down into our project site through that entrance. And then on the northern side, which is again now page right, we have our second pedestrian entrance, and that is for the Enterprise Canal Trail System, which is a 12-foot wide concrete trail. Like I mentioned on the previous slide, we have 2,740 linear feet of asphalt trail on our project site and 2,600 linear feet of concrete sidewalk. So now we get to jump into the fun part. It's the pictures that hopefully get to paint a picture of what this park is going to look like. So for the main lawn, we are currently standing in the intersection of Barstow Avenue and Agua Dulce. This would be if you're looking east in that leftmost picture, you'll see that, that wall. That would be where our monument sign is going to be for the park name. We don't have a park name established, and George is going to touch on that later in this presentation. You're looking over that wall is the 8,000 square feet of lawn area. You'll have your typical park amenities with bike racks. You'll have bench seating surrounding that, and then you'll have in the distance there the first overlook structure that I mentioned earlier. We will have 9 benches in this main lawn area and 22 benches throughout the entirety of the park. On the image to the right, you'll see we have our LCN lantern lighting, and then we have the overlook structure with 4 swings. Those will be constrained swings, so children and people can't swing themselves into the basin. But we really wanted to prioritize overlooking the water in multiple instances around this project, and this is really one of our highlight spots where you can come into the project off of the Enterprise Trail and then make your way up towards this main lawn area and swing back and forth under a shaded structure. For the parking lot, you're looking at the restroom building, both if you're coming in through the southeast or the northeast side. Again, the images are pretty much mirrored to be identical. You'll have your restroom in the middle and then a 36-foot shade structure on each side of those. Underneath those shade structures, we'll have 4 picnic tables and a water fountain on each side. Not a water fountain, a drinking fountain. And yeah, so that's our parking lot. The playground area is something we've spent a lot of time working with our playground provider on. We really do want to make this a first in Clovis in many ways for open and active and passive recreation. So this playground area and the heart behind it is to really unite everyone into one unified structure. Typically, when you go to different playgrounds in different areas, you'll see the older kids structure. So if you're 5 to 12, and then the younger tot lot a little bit off to the side. We've found working with our playground provider that a lot of times nowadays these kids like to all play together. They don't want to be separated. And so this playground area incorporates that, and that we're proud of what we've developed here, and we really do want to make this an example for other parks moving forward, for not only the city, but for development, and just setting an example of when Clovis does it, we do it right. And so not only will it be all ages united into one structure, but it'll also be ADA friendly as well. So you'll have ramps and different access points and different sounds and a whole bunch of things that really engage with the children. For the trail system, we have the Enterprise Trail. So this would be on the left, image to the left would be if you're looking at the main lawn. So that would be the slide that we were just at a few slides ago, where the overlook structure is. We'll have vegetation on each side. So in that left image, you'd be looking at the recharge basin. And the image on the right, you're gonna be also the recharge basin on the right side, and you'll have the Enterprise Canal on your left as you make your way up towards the northeast corner of the site. Likewise, on the Dog Creek Asphalt Trail, again, a 12-foot wide asphalt trail, landscaping on both sides. You would have your basin on the left, and then you would have the Dog Creek to your right. The image to the right is as you approach the northeast corner of the site where the bridge is that connects the two, and I'll have a slide on that in just a second. The overlook area, so this is where the Dog Creek overlook was. So we're going to be planting a large tree there that's going to provide shade for 5 benches. And again, we're really emphasizing a lot of different places you can overlook the water. This would be kind of your rest point if you were to make your way around the trail and around the site. The south lawn is the image on the right, and so that would be pedestrian entrance number 1 that I discussed earlier. So if you're coming in off of Shaw using the trail, you would make your way following the existing Dog Creek Trail and then go up into the lawn area and enter the site that way. Our Creek Falls and Bridge, this is the bridge that connects the 2 trails together. So you would have your concrete trail and your asphalt trail on each side. And then this would be located above the creek right where one of our falls would be. We'd also have an additional fall up a little bit more into the northeast corner of the site. And our heart here is, again, it's a nice, neat spot where someone can go and stop and overlook the water. You'll have an active waterfall making some noise and some, white noise to really enjoy the nature and all the trees and everything we're planting there. For the building elevations and the architectural style, I'm not sure if you picked up on it through the earlier slides, but we are matching our Pump Station E aesthetic. And so we're really tying in that Loma Vista vision and different pieces throughout. We've taken the parking lot look from Pasatiempo. We've taken the architectural style from Pump Station E. We're going to take the River Rock and some other things from Pasatiempo as well, and we're really blending that all together in this park. So here's just a hint of what those buildings would look like when they're out there. And lastly, the project phasing and project timeline. So right now, everything as part of phase 1 would be what we discussed today outside the restrooms and the play structure, which are highlighted in red on the screen. We anticipate starting a site cleanup in December of 2025, so just next month, with phase 1, which is the actual construction of the park, starting in the summer of 2026, with an estimated completion into the end of 2027. Our budgeted cost right now, or anticipated cost, is $6.8 million. And again, that is without the restrooms and without the play structures. Phase 2 is more on for timeline-wise, we would look back after phase 1 is completed and see what projects in the Loma Vista are important or priority projects, and then we would be able to gauge when phase 2 could go to construction. And again, that would be the restrooms and the play structure. We estimate phase 2 will cost $1.5 million. In the meantime, between phase 1 and phase 2, where the restrooms and the play structures are located, that will be grass areas to again promote active play in this area. And I'll pass it off to George to talk about our public comments that we've received.
Thank you, Jacob. Staff conducted 2 neighborhood meetings prior to being here this evening. So the first one was in June, prior to the Planning Commission hearing, and the second one was in October to meet the requirements of prior to coming to council. So some of the comments that we received from the public pertained to existing trees on the property and what would happen to them, and specifically the eucalyptus trees right now along Agua Dulce, they will be removed and they will not be staying there. In fact, our code identifies them as a nuisance, so they will be removed. Also allowed uses in the basin. We discussed traffic speed and volume concerns. It's important to know that staff did conduct a speed and volume test for this project and found that no accidents were reported for the stretch of Agua Dulce Avenue next to the park, and that no vehicles were traveling at or greater than 35 miles an hour along this stretch of road. Also, we talked about parking availability within the project, which Jacob touched on a little bit, the 26 stalls that we're proposing for this project. We discussed noise issues, with potential issues with the park, fencing, and there was a question about designating this area, or will this park be designated as a dog park? And the answer to that is no. Per our dogs master plan, we do have the Bicentennial Park as one, Letterman Park as the second, and the third will eventually be Pasatiempo Park, but not this one here. And as Jacob mentioned too, park lighting. This park will have plenty of bollard lighting every 50 feet, which considering the distance around the basin, it's going to be quite a bit of bollards there, along with the Loma Vista lantern light too, adjacent to the play areas and the picnic areas as well. And here too, I'll take this opportunity to mention the correspondence that council received this evening, and I'll just touch base on a number of items. Number one, they asked about what will be the impact on Dog Creek, and it's important to know that there will not be any impact to Dog Creek with the proposed project. It will remain as it is today. The project comes up to it, but the project will not touch it. And another question was regarding, would there be any mosquito abatements with this project? And yes, staff is actively looking at potential mosquito abatement options, such as stocking fish within the recharge basin as one of them. There were also questions about safety measures for children. It's important to mention that there's going to be a 10-foot minimum landscape buffer to deter children and animals from entering the basin. In addition to that, there's going to be a 5-foot wide low slope area entering the basin. That will hopefully provide ample time for folks to react and prevent anyone from entering the water. And fencing will be provided along designated lookout areas where approaching the water is encouraged. And some of the other questions pertain to what Jacob just talked about, what would be part of the park designed, what's going to be proposed here. So Jacob talked about that, and also the anticipated timeline for construction. Again, he covered that as well. But it's important to note that construction will not have any impact on the ingress and egress into the Agua Dulce, or into the subdivision to the east of the proposed park, as it is likely that all construction vehicles will be entering through Barstow Avenue. So Agua Dulce will remain open during construction. I hope that helps addressing some of those questions there. One important aspect I wanted to bring to council, and eventually I will need the council's direction and recommendation if you choose to approve the project, is council, when we took this project to commission, we recommended the site plan to the left, which shows 26 parking stalls. After a discussion with the commission mentioned that they believe that additional parking is necessary for the park. So in light of that, staff developed a alternative site plan that you see on the right, which provides 6 additional stalls. They're identified in yellow, and the parking footprint would increase by just over 1,900 square feet. However, by doing this, there's going to be a loss of landscaping about 10 feet to the north between the main lawn and the parking lot, and also a loss of about just over 1,300 square feet of the playground area. Okay, which it will also reduce approximately 20 linear feet of seat wall. And also it will unalign the path of travel between the existing ADA ramps on the west side of Agua Dulce with the proposed ADA ramps with the project identified here in blue. Although we can't count it towards the required parking, it's important to know that there's going to be approximately 39 on-street parking available with this project as well, in addition to the 26th. So therefore, with all due respect to the commission's request, we do still believe that the original site plan provides ample parking for the project, and this is the one that we're asking council to approve this evening. And it meets our development code requirements as well for parking. Per the open space being allocated for this project, the code requires 5 stalls. So we're providing 21 additional stalls on top of that with the original site plan. Any questions on this?
Mayor?
I do. Go ahead, Drew.
Just a couple of questions, George. The opinion of Public Utilities, the recharge permeability of this basin is good? Because I know we've had some that are, you leave water there and it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I'll let Jacob address that.
Yeah, so right now we can anticipate 600 acre feet per year. And that's a pretty good number, but we are going to be confirming and doing additional testing to make sure that that number is accurate.
Any estimate on what the depth of this would be at full?
So the basin, the design of the basin, so starting in the northeast corner, it would be about 5 feet, and it would taper down, so 5 to 6, all the way down to about 13 feet deep towards the southwest.
I did read the public comment concerns about about it being fenced, and I just don't know aesthetically we could do that. This will look similar to Woodward Lake. Would
Correct.
that be correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Go ahead, Lynn.
Do you want questions on the whole project right now, or just the parking, or where are we here? Are you finished with, I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I have one more item, and then
Okay.
I could be finished.
Okay,
All right, we'll wait.
Want to finish?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Go ahead, George.
So this is one item that I will need council's direction on. And the other item too is the park name. So it's important to know that staff came up with the 3 names before you this evening. When we took this to the Planning Commission, we showed all 3 proposals. The first one being Agua Vista Park, which is a play on Agua Dulce Avenue, which is the street immediately next to this project, and Agua for water, the water feature, and Vista for the viewpoints incorporated, plus the Loma Vista tie-in as well. The second option is Arroyo Tranquilo Park, which translates to Calm Creek or streambed, recognizing the importance of Duck Creek next to this project. And the third option is Agua de Reyes Park, which it translates as King's Water, recognizing the importance of the Enterprise Canal, bringing water from the Kings River to irrigate the Fresno Plains, and will be the primary source feeding the recharge basin as well. And so when we asked the commission which of the 3 they chose, it was a unanimous vote among the commission for number one, Agua Vista Park. The commission went further and opened it to the public attending that meeting and asked for their opinion as to which option they would choose. And it was a unanimous decision from everyone attending that it was number one, Agua Vista Park. And to give credit, I'll give credit, our staff member that came up with number one was our deputy city planner, Mackenzie Perez. So, and the other two, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So I will need the council's direction on this one too, if you choose to approve the project. And that, our recommendation this evening is for staff, is for the commission, and staff recommend the council to approve the project and find it exempt from further environmental review under CEQA guidelines section 15A3 and approve site plan review 25-016, subject to the conditions of approval as attachment 1A. But before I conclude my presentation, I'll see if anyone else has any comments.
I do have one more comment I want to make. So I started off by sharing kind of the background and the excitement staff has had in designing this. It's been really fun. I mean, we do a lot of fun work. This was really fun work. I also want to highlight what Jacob went over as far as the phasing. So we have phase 1 and phase 2. The price tag with each of those phases were identified. Right now, we don't have enough money to do phase 2 work, but staff has been out talking to the community, trying to get donations, contributions to do the project in its entirety at one time. I do want to say we met with the Clovis Community Foundation and they did pledge $200,000 towards the project. Now what we're shy is about 1.5 million. So they like to have a 1-for-1 contribution. So for every dollar they pledge, they'd like to have another dollar from an outside source. So our staff has been very diligent in contacting a lot of different entities to see if they would be interested in donating. There's interest in the project. They think there's a lot of value in this project. We just have not been able to find another donor to come up with more money. We're not done trying. I mean, we will continue to seek donations, but at this point, the project right now will be bid as one. We will have as like bid alternates the phase 2 work because we cannot afford to pay for that right now, but we will include it when we go out to bid because we're hopeful up until that point we will find somebody or somebodies to continue to want to contribute to this project. So again, a lot of heart has gone into this from staff. There's a lot of time to really make this unique and we're not done trying to get funding for it.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions of staff? Lynn, you have a couple.
Just a couple comments. Yep. Well done. Nice job, Jacob. Last name aside? No, just kidding. Good job. Just Jacob. Jacob's somebody. But anyway, well done, all of you, and even George, your names are not so great. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So I love the park, love the heart, love the energy. It's super awesome. I was going to ask about the phasing, so you answered my question on the money. So let's keep figuring out how do we find that last $1.5 million. I think the adaptive play equipment is particularly unique, and we don't have anything like that in Clovis. I think the other park that I'm aware of is in the northwest part of Fresno at Osa de Oro, and I don't know how it compares, but I think having that kind of park in Clovis makes just perfect sense, and it's really quite beautiful. I want to talk about the parking a second. This reminds me a little bit of the Dry Creek Park at Clovis and Alluvial, right, where there's a parking lot, maybe a little bit bigger than what you're proposing, but then all that overflow parking is just along Clovis Avenue into the neighborhoods. Is that kind of what's going to happen here? If this what's it called? Agua Vista, I got to get out of this. Agua Vista Park becomes busy for some reason, or that's where the cars will go?
Yes, so can you go back to, actually I have it here.
Just to be clear here.
I'll use let me see if I can go back to a bigger site plan. So yes, so you have the on-site stalls,
Right.
parking stalls, 26, and then the 39 that we mentioned are stalls along Agua Dulce Avenue, next to the park. So those 39 wouldn't bleed into the neighborhood yet. It would be beyond those that then folks would be parking in front of those residential.
They're not really
homes.
stalls, they're just on-street parking on
Yes.
Agua Dulce?
Yes.
Okay, I see, okay.
Mhm.
But that seems like Dry Creek Park, that's what happens there. When that parking lot gets full at the Botanical Garden, then people are on Clovis Avenue into those neighborhoods. Same kind of idea?
A little bit.
And I do like the name that I can't remember, but I like that name of best of the three, so, but it really well done, nice job. Super excited to see a park like this coming to Clovis. I thought Loma Vista was really cool. Oh, that's like nothing? Oh, gosh, okay, fine. Really nice job, nice job.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Matt.
I know we talked about the certain name for the park, but is that a potential is to offer somebody naming rights for a big donation?
Yes, so the city actually does have a policy, I believe, on park naming, and if there is a large contribution, they would have the rights to that. Trust me, I've used that. I've told them, people we've talked to, give us a 1.5 million, you can name the park. We just haven't had it yet.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Excellent presentation. I have a couple questions. With regards to wayfinding, it's sort of inside, so kind of north of Shaw. Will there be signage? There's already the trail that potentially would go there, but is that included, or is that in a whole different time frame when signage will be included, so that way people can identify and find this park?
So we do have a wayfinding project that's going to be coming before you in December, which will include some QR codes. I mean, that's part of our scope of work on just where you are and where you're going, where you can find all of our trails. The park itself, in terms of just having signage that says this way to Agua Vista, we have not planned for that in particular.
Okay. Will it include? I mean, we'll have Village Green. We're going to have this is just a little bit north there. I think thinking ahead so that way people can find it, I think it would be great.
Absolutely. I think, again, as part of the wayfinding program, the signage program, we will have some proposals before us with our contract to improve wayfinding. We have a website that shows all of our trails, our park sites. We'll have those QR codes where you can, here's where you are, here's where you can get to. So there's a lot of stuff in the works on not just getting to this park site, but to all of the recreational sites in Clovis.
Okay. I see that, I counted 18 benches, but a lot of them were sort of centered together. But the trail itself doesn't have a lot of benches. And so any thought on including more benches on sort of the trail part of it? And so I think the most is around the tree. I think there was 8 benches around, no, that was around that little oval area. But around that tree, there were 7 benches there around that tree. So along the trail itself, because I think we forget about our seniors and probably moms with children, that I guess 0.8 is not that far, but maybe because of the water feature, people may want to stop at a certain point. I don't know how it's going to look with sunset, and I prefer over here, because looking at the sunset, you won't see much unless you're on the northeast looking back on the sunset. So in other words, any thought about just more benches?
So I know when it's so, we're brought out so far away from it, it's hard to see. So right now we have, I think I had said 9 benches in the main lawn area. We have benches placed on the trail every 500 feet. And then there's 5 benches around that overlook area that you had mentioned. And so, and then there's an additional 3. You see where it bumps out on the other side where the Enterprise Canal is? George, if you could highlight there. Yeah, right there.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
So there's a existing pecan tree there, which we intend to make a heritage tree for this site, and there'll be 3 additional benches there. And then from that point, heading northeast is about exactly right around the bridge. There's an additional bench there, and then one on the opposite side as well. And then if you work your way towards the southwest, coming down a little bit more, George, around in that area, we do have a bench there as well. But yes, we can definitely add more benches if needed.
I think it was just hard to see.
Yeah.
I was looking for is it BN or something like that for bench and trying to circle as much as possible. But from what you were saying, 500 feet, then yeah, thank you for that. And then on the northeast, I think the Enterprise, that pavement, it's on the east-south side, correct? Where it goes sort of to the left. And so it'll be on the same side coming into the park.
That's correct. So
Because I've been on there once only.
So the Enterprise Canal and the trail would continue all the way to the northeast corner, and that would all be concrete pretty much to right there. And then at that point, when it develops, that trail would then continue. And where George just ran the cursor, that is going to be the asphalt trail. That would be the on-site trail that wraps around and for right now does connect into that Enterprise trail. But one day in the very distant or very soon future, that Enterprise Canal Trail would continue on.
Okay. And then Dog Creek on the, I don't know if it's south side, but the east side, is there a trail there? Remember when Bonadelli was putting that in? Is there a trail on that side? I remember that project that we were talking about, that it was going to be by this park and George, Dog Creek. Is there a trail on the other side?
No. So
there isn't. So this will be the trail.
This will be the trail.
Okay.
Bonadelli has this linear park that you can faintly see right here. They have some sitting areas here and a lookout area just to the north, but not a trail.
Okay. All right. I appreciate the future connectivity to whatever's going to develop up there. And then, I wanted to challenge the council. 1.5 million donations. This park is all fees, so it's not general funded. And so it's all fees that I say we go and meet our friends and and get the community to really buy in. And I think Renee can figure out naming and all that kind of stuff that I think we actively help in this effort, because I think we have an opportunity. I just wanted to encourage us, and if nothing at all, to try to meet the 200,000 that the foundation is already giving. So 50,000 each, 30,000 each. I don't want to obligate us, but I'm just saying, I think we can do it. I think we can really do it. And then I think it'd be a very nice addition, at least for this council, for that time being. And so, Drew, you had?
Yeah, I just have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Have we given any consideration to, other than mosquito fish, having, maybe fishing for kids, or are the trout going to eat the mosquito fish? And
So is that more on uses for the basin, or?
Yeah.
So we've talked internally as staff with multiple departments. We got the fire department, we had police, we all sat down and talked about realistic uses. The outcome of that, in coordination with our risk management department, was fishing would be the only allowable use. That being said, after multiple discussions, we do recommend that there's no recreational uses, at least at project kickoff, once this gets built, and then maybe in time we consider uses such as fishing.
yeah, from a risk management standpoint, I think that makes sense, at least in the beginning. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Just two other comments. To the wayfinding program, I don't know what that will entail, but what I think about this park, will we be able to tell the history of the park in the wayfinding? So is there some way to have a monument sign about, again, how this place came to be, what it was, what it used to be, how important Dog Creek was? So to try to just extend out the story of Clovis and this new facility. So maybe wayfinding at some point could include some storytelling along with it, because that'll keep us knitted together. And I think that's the challenge here as we get bigger and bigger. So can maybe put that in your thinking cap?
Absolutely. So part of the wayfinding does have a historical component to it.
Yeah.
Some history behind some of the major monuments or locations. When George was explaining or answering the question on Bonadelli and the linear park, that project required an amenity, the Bonadelli project, and within the amenities that were provided, one thing was a kiosk within that linear park, a 3-paneled kiosk. And so staff worked to put together some historical information. We got information from the Flood Control District, FID, and then a map that shows here's where you are and here's where you can connect to the regional trails throughout Loma Vista. So just building off of that, I mean, I think it's a pretty cool kiosk. We could continue to provide that kind of historical information, how it came about.
And I want to say, I don't know, Jacob, when you said that's the heritage tree, I don't know if heritage tree is a real thing, but I love that. So I want to commend you for thinking about that sort of language or description or things to hold on to and build our story around. So thank you. Is it a real thing or did you just make it up?
It's a real thing.
Oh, you should just say you made it up and you're a genius. Just say that. Well, anyway, I really love that. So again, more storytelling that could be done. And then just a kind of to the mayor's challenge, could Measure Y funds be used in any part of this? Everybody looks like, don't talk about Measure Y, don't talk about it. But okay, so I'm not saying all parks were part of Measure Y language. I distinctly remember that. Could it be part of the match to the foundation so we don't lose their $200,000? But I think we have some resources that possibly could be used. Andy's going to tell me no. I can feel the no over my right shoulder. Go ahead. But anyway, maybe?
Measure Y is essentially general fund revenue. Council can just decide how to choose to spend that. That would be via budget amendment or during the budget process to make that decision.
And so maybe we can think, as that comes, as it gets closer. But so finishing this project seems super important, and I love the idea of finishing all at once. So I don't know. I don't know how to do that or what's the right time, but I think it's a worthy conversation. And for people that are like, no, don't start spending Measure Y money, we said parks. And clean parks and finished parks make safer communities. So I can make the case for that. I'm not saying randomly, but I think it's worth thinking about because we did sell Measure Y on public safety and parks, among other things. So just a comment as the time, maybe is it next budget cycle, probably?
Yeah, it would be included in the CIP discussion, the capital improvement program discussion.
Just
that's how that park is getting funded further.
Thanks. Well done.
Agenda item number 5 did show a 1.4 million surplus.
That's our fund balance. That's our fund balance, Mayor. Please.
Yeah, so it's rare to see it. So Okay. Any other questions? My last question, Renee, is how do we incorporate policies, procedures where, if and when something new comes in, you're going to put a new feature where it doesn't have to go through all this again. Can that happen after we approve this? Or if it's something new, like a picnic area, some other place, or we're going to shrink the basin a little bit. I want it so that way we don't have to go through all this again because it's a concept we like already. Is this sufficient or do you need something else? Do you have to study anything else? I just want it so it is flexible as you move along because, parks change. We wanted David McDonald Park to be a fishing area one time, and then we approved it all, but it was changed easily without having to come back, so I wanted to make sure.
No, this approval tonight, if that is council's direction, is sufficient. The site plan review, it gives us enough flexibility in the future if we find we want to shift a little bit. It's still a park project. It was a part of our general plan. It was planned for this area. We studied it. So we have enough authority from the council at this point to make minor modifications.
Okay. And then for the council, the staff did give us 2 questions. So did you want to hear public first or give your opinions on the name and the parking? Staff wanted to go back to the parking that was originally recommended, and then there's those 3 names. that was approved by the planning commission. I'm ready to.
I would rather wait for
Okay.
the public to talk first.
All right. So we'll go ahead and open the public portion. And so please come and state your name and give your address for the record.
Brian Wilson, 469 Bergen. My only question would be, first off, the name is fabulous. I'm all for the name. Secondly, if you go over the 28 million, I say spend a little bit extra. But if you don't go over the 28 million in Measure Y money, I say don't spend any of the money. And the third thing is there's a water feature. It's great design in the park. I love it. I would spend a lot of time out there. The Loma Vista Park, that's out south of Shaw there, only gets really filled up when there's activities out there. Otherwise, most of the parks are pretty empty except for big events, such as Clovis Night Out at David McDonald. There's not enough parking out there unless you open up the grass field. So I think the parking is good with the off-street parking or on-street parking. The fourth thing is what is the maintenance, yearly maintenance cost of this park with the pumps and landscaping? It looked like a pretty extensive design, which is wonderful, but I know what's happening out at Loma Vista. It's kind of it's a lot of work, and there's a cost to those, so thank you.
Okay. Did you want to answer with regards to the maintenance?
I don't know the exact number, but we will collect a landscape maintenance district fee for this, and it will be maintained by our public utilities department.
Okay.
But I couldn't give you a number right now.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Jenny Kren. I live on Bullard Avenue in Clovis. I'm excited about this park. It's actually not that far from where I live, and so I'm very excited. I will say park, I know a number of parks fairly well. Railroad Park does not have adequate parking, and the parking's too far away from the place or the picnic structures and such. And so that makes it really problematic for, say, if you have a disabled family member and you want to have a birthday party. So it makes it very difficult there. Dry Creek Park does not have enough parking. It just doesn't. I mean, even in the morning, if I try to take my dog over there to take a walk, I'm apt to be parked along Clovis Avenue. Paso Tiempo, am I saying it right? Anyway, I love that park, and its parking seems to be pretty, at a pretty satisfactory level for the activity that goes on there. You said that might have a dog park at some point, and not that one. Oh, good. Okay. Because because that park is very. Yeah. It's used at a pretty high level all the time. There's stuff going out, and I can't see, setting aside any of it. As far as the name, I like the name. For those of us from, went school in the Midwest or the Northeast, we took French instead of Spanish, and you get too fancy with the Spanish names, and I struggle. So, but I appreciate them. I do try. I got Paso Tiempo today. So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Mayor, if I may add one thing real quick.
Yeah.
I think one important element of the project is tucked in the neighborhood area. So our hope is regarding parking. Our hope is that folks will actually walk to the park from the neighborhood residential areas, and that would hopefully help with parking issues as well.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Steve Trevino. I live on Bullard Avenue. Ms. Aspect, you were referring to history And we used to pick grapes out in that area. There was a big landowner out there. I don't remember his name. Maybe you know, because I know you're part of the Historical Society. But there was a big landowner out there, and he had thousands of acres of grapes out there. And I remember going out there picking grapes out there when I was a child. And another thing I wanted to mention, all of you know I was a truck driver. I used to drive to Delano and Bakersfield. And a lot of people used to mention to me that used to come to Clovis to go to Clovis Lakes. And I'm thinking that a lot of these people that come to Clovis Lakes in the summer may go to that park. And I think that parking may not be enough parking. I'm maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I'm thinking, that a lot of those people will. I think that in the summertime, a lot of the people that go to that park won't be Clovis people. There'll be people from all over the place. That's just a guess. And then third, I wanted to mention, and I mentioned this here before, a lot of school districts and cities, they're getting away from swings. A few years ago, there was a child that fell off a swing and died. And you'll notice, even our Clovis parks, I don't see swings. And the young man was talking about swings. Now, I went to Florida a couple months ago, and I noticed they did have swings there. But again, I've gone to schools, and I've noticed they don't have swings anymore because of that. And then one more item for, I don't agree. I don't think we should be using Measure Y. I don't think we should be using it for that, because most people associate Measure Y with police and fire. Now maybe in the small print it said parks, but most of us, we think about police and we think about fire, and that's why I voted yes, because of that. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino.
Eric Rollins, I live on Ashcroft Avenue. I am on the Measure Y committee. And I will go to war on this one if we spend more than about 8% on something besides police and fire. Just be aware of that. I am very much for having a safe community because it allows for a prosperous community. That's why I believe we need, and why the citizens of Clovis overwhelmingly passed this. So I think the vast majority of the Measure Y money needs to go to emergency services. Thank you.
Thank you.
I knew that would get you out of your seat.
Anyone else? Okay. No? Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike Brandini, 2062 Alamos, Clovis. I have to disagree with a couple other speakers. This park, and when Measure Y was proposed, I voted for it because it wasn't just public safety. Parks were included in the measure. It was described, it was sold as public safety was a priority, but parks and streets were also part of that language in the ballot measure. So I do understand, public safety was probably the main points in that measure, but the people who voted for it didn't vote just for public safety. There have been public safety measures, singular, on the ballot before, and they failed because they were single issue measures. This was a general vote of a 50% plus one vote, but it was passed by almost 2/3 because I believe it was public safety, parks, and streets. So don't disregard the use of Measure Y money for parks, because parks contribute to the safety of the community. People are out and around, they're using the parks, they're visible, and you have less, the more parks you have, the less crime you have. At least that's my belief. Police department may disagree, but I do encourage, I like the name, in deference to George. And I do believe 26 on-site stalls and 39 on-street stalls. That's got it, for that size park, it's only 12, the total acreage of the actual use area is only, what, 5 acres? The actual use, because the water, I mean, the pond is going to take, what,
Just
eight
over-
acres?
The basin acreage is probably just over 6 acres.
The basin acreage is 6.5 acres. The actual recreational open use area is 2.5.
So it's 2.5 acres. If you put all those cars in there, you won't have enough people to use 2.5 acres. So anyway, those are my comments. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council on this item? Okay, seeing none, go back to the council. See what I think we haven't heard from any of us with regards to the name and the parking question.
I'm good with the name, and I'm good with the parking as recommended by staff.
I also agree.
It seems like pretty.
Agreed, unless we get money for the name.
Yeah, I think the original parking as staff proposed, particularly because of that direct access line with the ADA ramps, I think is very important, and I think that's sufficient parking. I'm just going to throw a vote toward number 3 because, you know, I like Agua Vista too, but I like George too, so I'll just go ahead and throw that one out there. But yeah, I think that's all good, and I would be very hesitant at this point to use Measure Y money toward this. I really, really, really want to see it happen, and I think it would be incredible to do it all at one time. I see the value in that, but that would not be something that I would choose at this point to use Measure Y money toward.
George, how big is Dry Creek? 2 acres? 5?
No, I think it's bigger than 2
is it?
acres. Yeah, Dry Creek, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I measured the open recreational use for Dry Creek, and it's 7.3 acres.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, is that big? Well, I tend to agree with Mr. Trevino that with your water feature, Renee, people are gonna come out. And I just feel like it's not enough parking, and people won't just, because when they come to fish, they don't just come use and leave, right? I don't know, fishermen kind of like to stay longer unless there's when they reach their limit. And so I just feel like the fishermen will take it away from the day use, and then the rec use. And so I just feel like, how do we get more parking in there? I tend to feel like because it's inside, unless you live right there, most people will drive to it still. I know we want to encourage them to walk. And so I worry about that. I agree with Mr. Trevino that people will be coming from around to come to this park because we do it well. So that I just worry about that. That's my only worry. And with regards to, since you brought it, I do support 200,000 out of 28 million is nothing. And so that I see it, I did the calculation, it's not even 1%. And so because of that, it is something that is worth securing the funds so that way the foundation does not leave. And as we secure more, it's just less Measure Y that we are using. And with our efforts, I think we will make sure we get that $200,000 match, if anything, just for that. So, but I'm good with the name, and I support the more parking stalls that, wait, more was the planning commission's, huh? Yeah,
Correct.
I tend to support the planning commission's decision on that, so we can.
There would be 6 additional stalls.
Yeah. And so.
So I'll make a motion, if you're okay with that, to find that no further environmental review is required relative to CEQA, and approve the site layout as recommended by staff for the Loma Vista Park and Recharge Basin.
Second.
We have a motion second on the floor. All those in favor, signify by.
I have a question. Does that include the 6 extra spaces?
No.
It does not? Okay.
And also, does the motion confirm the name?
The name as well.
Yes.
And also,
George?
I want to know if that motion also modifies the condition to add additional benches on the trails.
No, I think the clarification, I was satisfied with it, so
Okay.
that
Yeah,
the motion
no,
didn't need it,
yeah.
yeah. So it's pretty much what you are recommending
Okay.
tonight. So that's the motion, the second on the floor.
We-
Any further
Sec-
discussion?
Is there a second? Yeah. Oh, okay.
I think, yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay, only because of the parking, but I love it, so. Okay, so it passes 4-1.
Nice job.
Okay, next is item 11, administrative item, presentation update by the city consultant on the progress of general plan update. Staff on this is our senior planner, Lily Cha, and I think we have our consultant as well. And sir, I forgot your name, so I apologize. I think you're with De Novo, right?
Yes, this
Okay.
is, so I do have Ben here with me from De Novo Planning Group, who we selected as a consultant for the general plan update.
Ben looked like he had a beer can from our last week's business, and I'm like, really, that's good. We serve it now at our council chambers. Your water bottle looked like the same color as the, exactly, that's exactly what it looked like. Should have been there last week.
So Ben and I, we are pleased to provide you with a progress report on the general plan update as we near our 1-year mark of this 3-year process. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and just turn it over to Ben. He's going to go over, he's going to walk through the progress we've made so far and provide you with some information on what's to come.
All right, thank you very much. Mayor, council members, Ben Ritchie, De Novo Planning Group. It's a pleasure to be here. Do I have my presentation? Oh, President, there we go. It's on to me. All right, I will be very brief, and then I'm open for any and all questions and discussion. So we'll talk about overall project status, the major milestones that we've hit during the first year, touch briefly on our experiences with the GPAC through our first 2 meetings, talk about next steps, and also a proposed moratorium on general plan amendments as we work our way through completion of the general plan update. So hopefully this is a familiar slide. The years line up nicely with the phases. We have a 3-year project schedule, roughly broken into 3 phases, and we're concluding year number 1, and we are concluding phase number 1. I would like to strongly emphasize to the council, we are on schedule, we are well within budget. As the project manager, the business owner, the budget feels great, there are no surprises, no changes, and we're right on track. So in terms of some of the major milestones that we've completed, we've developed a logo for the project, our branding, we've developed a subpage on the city's website, so all of the information on the general plan update, what we're up to, meeting events, milestone documents, those are all online on the city's website. We have done a lot of non-glorious, boring, but very important behind-the-scenes work on data collection, base mapping, getting all the GIS data dialed in. We have done extensive work on the existing conditions report. We've completed a full draft. Staff is finishing up some final review, and we're releasing those chapters as we discuss topics relative to those chapters with the GPAC. So that all existing conditions report work is essentially done. We have finished phase 1 of the community outreach. This was big. I have a whole slide dedicated to that, so I'll talk to you about what went into that. We have gone through a multi-month process to receive parcel change request applications, which is a big way of saying if you own land in Clovis or the larger general plan planning area and you would like to see a different land use designation on your parcel, let us know and it will be considered as part of the update to the land use maps. It was 5 or 6 months open. 5 months, extensively advertised. We got a lot of applications. Those are going to be mapped. I will be coming back in the summer and we'll talk about those in depth. It's going to be an integral part of updating your land use map. And to date, we have held 2 GPAC meetings. I'll talk about those, but I would like to commend the council. You have appointed an excellent GPAC. The group has been fantastic. They're engaged. We've had fantastic attendance, robust discussions. I do a lot of these. I've run 20 some odd GPAC groups throughout California over the last couple decades. You have a good group. So I'm very pleased with how things are going overall. So outreach and feedback, I know that is very important to the council. Making sure this is a community-based plan is the cornerstone of our efforts. So to date, we have done 2 in-person community visioning workshops. They were well attended. We have, staff has led a number of pop-up events. There have been 4 of those. You were at Farmers Market. Where else were you? Trail Fest, Mayor's Breakfast. So those are additional ways to get the word out. It helped drive traffic and interest to the online survey. When I say I have 120 responses, there were many, many questions. So that's 120 full completions of the survey plus fill in the blanks. We got so much feedback from the online surveys. All of this is summarized in the Phase 1 Outreach Summary Report. It's long. We tried to give the Cliff Notes Reader's Digest version, but all of the raw data is in there. If you really want to dig into what people are saying, read the appendices with the survey feedback. There is a lot of information in terms of what people are thinking and feeling about Clovis, the direction where you need to go. We did a total of 4 focus group meetings. Those were very informative. The city has been instrumental in doing social media outreach and really getting the word out, making sure people are aware of what events are coming up, take the survey, go to the website, and also the direct mailers. It was 38 or 40, how many went out? It was about 40,000 direct mailers went out. Kudos to the city for funding that. It really drove a lot of traffic. We talked to people at the workshops. Hey, how did you hear about this? A lot of them noted the direct mailers. So it was very effective. It was very forward-thinking of the city to spend the dollars to get those out there. It drove traffic to the surveys, the website, and the in-person workshops. And so that's kind of a summary. If you are interested in digging deep, again, on the website, we have posted the Phase 1 Outreach Summary Report. It's got a lot of information, and we heard great things. Some of the key findings, there were no real surprises. We heard a lot about the Clovis way of life, the importance of, quality housing, public safety, the trails and recreational network, the importance of revitalizing existing residential areas, making sure that new growth doesn't impact your existing quality of life. We heard about the importance of infrastructure upgrades and updates, and those were some of the key highlights. I don't want to do a disservice by trying to give a 10-second Reader's Digest version to what we heard from multiple hundreds of comments in terms of that. But again, I strongly encourage you to read the Phase 1 Outreach Summary Report. We heard a lot of good stuff. A lot of it was based on balanced growth, the importance of having jobs, and again, protecting the Clovis way of life. So the GPAC is underway. We've had 2 meetings. Meeting number 1 was kind of our intro. Welcome to the GPAC. Here's what this all means. Here's why you're here. This is what a general plan is. The very interesting thing, the first meeting when we talked about, big picture, what's important? Why are we on the GPAC? The conversation immediately gravitated towards economic development. A lot of the comments we didn't prompt with those questions, and that's what folks started talking about. We're trying to stay nimble with our agenda, so meeting number 2 became very apparent. We're going to talk economic development. So we had our economic sub-consultant come. That was the agenda topic of the day, and we dove deeper into those econ development topics, which, as many things with the general plan does, it started pivoting towards land use, which is what is coming. So the next 3 meetings are going to be focused primarily on land use. So those are scheduled for January 25th. March 5th and April 30th. And we're going to kind of take an evolutionary developmental path through what can chew up a good chunk of a general plan. All things being equal, the land use map is always the 800-pound gorilla. And so that's what we're tackling for the early part of next year. And again, having done a lot of these, I'm very pleased with your GPAC. They are polite. They're thoughtful, they come prepared. We give them reading materials and prompt questions prior to each meeting, and they show up ready to go. So it's a great group. These meetings run approximately 2 hours. They are open to the public, and we have public comment periods available at the end of each meeting. So we've had 15 to 20 on average non-GPAC members of the public attending each meeting. We've had very thoughtful comments. Everyone has been very polite and constructive, so I'm very pleased with how things are going so far. All right, in terms of our next steps, as we move into 2026, our primary focus will be on land use and the land use map. We're going to be looking at a lot of factors when we start to come back to you with recommendations on where you might want to go. So we're going to take GPAC input. They're going to have their next 3 meetings focused on the land use map. We will be taking close consideration of the parcel change requests that we got during that application period. What are our overarching themes? What are the individual requests, and does that fit? And how does that reconcile? There will be consideration of findings and recommendations from the existing conditions report and that analysis. Consideration of public input from all of our initial visioning exercises. Our visioning workshops had land use map activities and it was land use focused. So that will be a key component of our initial recommendations on the land use map. And then of course, professionally, we'll bring some of our recommendations forward based on what we've heard, what we've seen, staff observations. And so we anticipate coming back to council, call it summer. Don't hold me exactly to that. Summer's abroad, it could be May to September. It's sunny for a long time. We will be back in the middle of 2026 with some drafts of the land use map. And I'm not asking for specific direction right now unless there's something you want to tell me. But mid next year, I'm going to come back and start asking and holding your feet to the fire a little bit and say, okay, we're starting to hone in on this land use map. We would like to get it mostly right, 85, 90% right. And in the late summer to fall, my hope and intention is to start holding public workshops to get public input on the land use map. My goal is to wrap up 2026 to have a land use map that this council and the community says, yeah, this is what we want to build our entire general plan around. And then phase 3 is 2027. And we'll build out the rest of the policy document to support the map that you like at the end of 2026. That doesn't mean you've approved it, doesn't mean you're locked in, but it means at the end of next year and starting in the middle of next year, I want to have this map in a spot where you guys look at it and understand it, understand the implications in terms of growth, traffic, economic development, housing units, and you can start to nod at me and say, yeah, we pretty much have this right. It doesn't mean you can't change it during the last year, but I want to have it at that 90% level by the end of 2026. So that's our game plan for the coming year. As I mentioned, things are right on track, and I feel very good about that. The last thing I would like to talk about this evening is that we are proposing that effective January 1st of this coming year, the city will stop accepting applications for general plan amendments until the general plan has been adopted. The reason for this, it allows the city, the GPAC, the consultant team, and staff to really start to work on preparing your map without constant changes. It puts a freeze on things. So the city is very friendly towards business and friendly towards accepting recommendations from its property owners, but we would like to put a hold and freeze on things to let us work through this without the constant change. It's going to make for a better process, and it's going to provide you, the council, with an opportunity to really focus on the long-term vision for the city without having to respond to piecemeal applications and requests that may not be in line with the overall direction that we're trying to develop as part of this general plan update. And so that concludes my presentation. So I am happy to talk about any and all questions, thoughts, and comments and concerns.
Any questions or thoughts? Go ahead, Lynn.
Well, I think so the moratorium on GPAs, I don't remember that we did that last time. Did we do that?
We did do some research, and it appears that there was no moratorium for the last time, but I'd also like to remind that the last time we updated our general plan update, it took years.
Oh, I do remember.
Yeah.
Yes, I was younger and older when it was over. Got it. Have we run that by the building industry to see if that alters anybody's long-range business plans?
We did inform the BIA, and there wasn't really any negative comment on that process.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then on the other side of a very detailed question, something bigger, where is the imagination about what we want to be? Where does that happen in your process? Because the map is one thing, but what it's trying to build is something else. So I'm sure you've had that or will have that as this iterative process goes along. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. A lot of it is, so your general plan is going to be grounded in a vision statement. That vision statement is going to originate largely from the input we've heard from the community during the visioning workshops. I have it framed out. We haven't written it yet. That's something I could provide at any given stage, but I would like to get further through the GPAC process. So the primary, I'll call it inspirations for your vision statement, what grounds your general plan and what we're trying to accomplish is input from the community, input from the GPAC, and input from the council. As the council is aware, I was here a year or so prior to starting the general plan, had multiple conversations with you, so I have the initial first flush of what the council priorities are. And what we're going to be doing, the general plan is not the map. The map is an important component, but it is the plan is so much more than that.
Yeah.
As we develop the land use map, we will be building out goals, objectives, and priorities for all of the elements, everything from community health, wellness, safety, conservation, utilities, public services, public safety. Those are all the myriad components that make up the general plan. As we roll into the start of the final phase, phase 3, early 2027, those will all be drafted and they will come to council for input, and there will be multiple public workshops. Are we hitting on the key points? What do you think about this? Is this the correct policy approach? And so as we start to work into the next couple of years, the next series of public workshops we're going to have, the first phase was, here we are, what should we do? What do you think? The next phase was, here's what we heard, here's what we've drafted, did we get it right? What's your response to this? What would you add? What would you take away? Are we on the right track? And those are all coming throughout the next 2 years.
Yeah, I love the, it's interesting that the economic development emerged so quickly, so
Yes.
early, which I'm sure you've seen that before, but it's interesting here. I don't think I've experienced that here. So I think that's obviously a key to the next 30 years, so I think that's great.
It's key, and what else I heard from it is it wasn't, economic development, it's like saying sustainability. What does that mean? Well, it means a lot of things. So much of economic development was, how do we generate revenue for the city to fund police and fire to maintain our quality of life? How do we provide affordable housing so that young people can move back and have jobs and careers here and maintain this wonderful mosaic of our community? So the term economic development is, I don't want to say meaningless, but so broad, but it meant so many things, and our discussion had so many tentacles that some of them went into land use, some went into infrastructure, some went into parks, and some went into housing. And so it was a great kickoff for the GPAC to talk about what's important in terms of fiscal sustainability to a mosaic community that's diverse and is what we all believe in here.
That's great.
So.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. I had two. One, I appreciate the fact that economic development also came at the forefront, and I want it to be where it is in every tentacle of this plan. How do we sustain it with affordable housing? How do we sustain it, just the services of the city? And so, because it needs to be that, because that's the mindset that this next 30 years we have to think of, and how do we do it? I think Councilmember Ashbeck has been pushing that. We've been doing this for the last 50 years. How do we move forward? And I think it is through the mindset of economic development first, and then we start painting this mosaic of what the city is and see if we can sustain it with the fabric of economic development at the forefront. And so,
and I think your GPAC agrees with you, and you'll have not only a standalone economic development element, but it will reference the tentacles on how good public services and public safety helps build a strong economy, and how good recreational assets and amenities build a strong economy. So our intent is not only to address it directly, but to talk about all of the spin-off related factors that support it.
will any part of our general plan now incorporate state mandates, so that way we don't have to do a lot of explaining? In that, hey, if they should do this type of development, it's by right, it's gonna do it, and it can happen anywhere in any of these colors. And so that way it's sort of we acknowledge it, it's there. So that way it's something in which we can go, hey, we know these are state mandates. we colored it this color, but these 3 items or these 4 items ain't go anywhere on this map. And it can go by right. Is there any thought to that, or is that something in which, because the political scene changes so much, we don't need to put it into a document?
I appreciate the second half of your comment. I was about to say yes, short of having a crystal ball. Your general plan is not going to provide the full regulatory backup to, by the way, you know, if this is zoned low-density residential, by the way, you can do these things per state law. It will lay out compliance with every aspect of state law as it exists at the time the general plan is adopted. So part of our job is to do a whole lot of listening, deliver your plan, your tone, your flavor, your vision, and make sure we check all of the boxes that this doesn't conflict with state law, it implements state law, complies with state law. It's not going to read as a narrative of, hey, this might be designated yellow, which is low-density residential, but oh, by the way, state law says that with, you know, builder's remedy or density bonuses or affordable housing provisions, your housing element addresses that in great detail, which is a component of your general plan. So it's going to comply with all aspects of state law. It's going to be clear on what these things mean, but I don't want to leave the impression that it's going to read like a manual with all of the asterisk caveats that, oh, by the way, Sacramento says this means this.
Okay.
But the intent is going to be crystal clear, the vision will be crystal clear, and the policy guidance for the council and the community will be crystal clear.
And my last item is with regards to the Historical Commission, and I know that we were going to use the general plan update as where we will address, and it was very contentious in our community when that was brought up, and I just, your thoughts on that, or we'll hit that when it comes in one of these 4 or 5 meetings that are coming up?
It's largely, we'll hit that when it comes. We intend to speak with them, meet with them directly, and we will either prepare a historical downtown, Old Town Clovis element, or have it as subcomponent of the conservation element. I do want to emphasize, however the general plan is organized, if historic preservation and resources, whether it's a subcomponent of conservation or a standalone element, those goals and policies will be there, and they will have the same weight of law. So if it's a subchapter or a standalone chapter, it does not diminish the importance of those goals and policies. And as we develop those, the Historical Commission will be one of our resources, and we'll be checking in with them to get their input and feedback, make sure that they have their input before we draft it, and then get their feedback once we have drafted it.
And Lily, I think you seem to be the heavy hitter in planning now, because you did the housing element, and now here you are with general plan update. So thank you so much for your hard work on this very important document that we're going through. Any other questions? Okay.
It's really kind of
yes,
more
go
quick.
ahead.
I liked what you said about, so I guess what I was sort of asking about the vision, I challenge, and you raised when you said economic development isn't exactly the right word. I encourage you to think about new words that take people someplace besides the traditional. So historical preservation, historical conservation is kind of like, yeah, okay, that's a thing, but the real thing is heritage or something like that. That's really our value. So I encourage you as you do the work, economic development, sorry, Chad, is a thing. It's somebody's job, but it's more than that. It's what? It's how we're going to be here in 50 years or something more aspirational. So just, I like the word heritage, like you said it, but that's really a better word in my mind. So just as you do the work, because I think that could make the document so much more value-based, and that's again what we're trying to define our city by. How it looks is one thing, but why it looks that way is something entirely different. So just an encouragement on that, finding a new noun.
I like that. Point very well taken, and I hope we make you proud of it. Yeah.
You could do that.
I'm tracking.
I know you can. Thanks. Well,
This time, I'm going to go ahead and open the public portion. Any comments on, with regards to our general plan committee update?
Mike Prandini again. I'm a member of the GPAC, and I would speak against a flat-out prohibition of a general plan amendment. The Economic Development Group is working hard to attract businesses, and if they've got one that needs a spot, that is not designated for that, you don't want to chase them away. If they want to spend the money to do the EIR, I don't think you want to just flat out prohibit any application for a general plan amendment. You may make some parameters, has to be an economic development project, has to be something that's proposed by your staff or your economic development corp, or has to be a certain size, but don't just flat out say no applications whatsoever. That'd be my recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. That's a great point. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public portion. That was something I think, I don't know, I tend to agree, but I don't know, what staff, what you guys are thinking with regards to parameters. I don't know what the rest of the council is thinking as well with regards to, you know, if something is going to hit in the next year. Are we flat no because of this ban, or are we?
I mean, Ben, have
Andy,
you seen some
Andy,
sort of
I would look to you
hybrid?
too, yeah. Mhm.
My job is to just always make it work. So, you know, I mean, like my blunt answer is if you kind of lock it down, it's easier and cleaner. If you get a big important application and you want to make an exception or you want to look at it, I'm not going to tell you we can't finish the general plan. We're going to make it work. So I don't know. And then I'm talking on the fly here. I don't know if this was something we were asking for a council vote on to approve a moratorium, or if it was I'll ask you to kind of expand on that.
No, I don't think so. It's not, we weren't asking for a vote. I think it was something we generally agreed upon, you know, being a benefit to this process.
Yes.
And understand that 3 years is fast when it comes to updating the general plan, but that can also be impactful when, you know, we have situations like Mike just described.
So I might speak out of turn here. I might suggest that we strongly discourage them for the next 2 years, and it's not chiseled in stone, and we're not asking the council to pass a resolution necessarily. So, but again, my job is to get you done in 3 years and make it work, and we'll do that. With that said, as we get into the final push, as we get into the 6, 8, 9 months from now, if there's a whole bunch swirling and changing on the map, I'm going to be back here getting squirrely and uncomfortable and talking to you about, like, hey, you want numbers and you want maps settled, and I got all these applications hitting colors on my map, and I'm fidgeting it in my chair. So, you know, over the next couple of months, I'm still pretty okay with it. And as we push through the land use map and I start bringing drafts to you, I'm going to hit a point where I'm going to ask you to kind of start to lock in on that so we can finish the environmental, we can build the policy around it, and I can give you the analysis we've promised without a constantly moving target.
Andy, did you have anything to add?
I think staff can use discretion and bring items to you that are super critical to the community relative to economic development or any other aspect of our community. If it goes against the recommendation of our consultant, we can talk about it and bring that to you for discussion.
Thank you. Drew, did you have?
This is a receive and file, so it's not like we really have to do any motions or anything. But I think we need to have the flexibility. Vong and I were in Phoenix about a month ago, and we had several conversations that we're hoping will be fruitful, and we need to have the ability to go forth if something moves. So I understand at some point we're going to have to be a no-go, but if there's stuff in, we need we need that flexibility to do that.
You bring us those jobs, we'll get you that GPA.
And then what I'll offer to the council is we're going to keep going forward, and I'm going to keep you on schedule. If something pops up, I'll give you my take on potential implications on the general plan with an eye towards let's just make this work. And if you have something before you and it conflicts with the recommendation we're giving, I'll just give you my take on it, and then the council can direct on how you proceed.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben. Anything else, Lily? It's a resume file, so.
Nothing else.
All right. Thank you very much. Great job. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move to item 12. It's consider approval to submit a request to the California Air Resources Board for exemption from the Innovation Clean Transit Rule. Staff on this is our city manager, Andy Hausman.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Just want to give a little bit of background. At the council meeting on February 18th, 2025, City Council directed Councilor Bessinger and staff to engage policymakers on the challenges the city was experiencing with the implementation of the Advanced Clean Fleet and Innovative Clean Transit Regulations. These are regulations adopted by CARB, the California Air Resources Board. These regulations require the public and private fleets to transition to zero-emission vehicles. This is a concern for the city as vehicles that meet the mandates don't meet the city's operational needs. We have issues with infrastructure and charging facilities. Zero-emission vehicles can cost approximately 60% more than the amount of the current fleet, but not operate an entire day. Zero-emission vehicles may not be able to meet critical emergency response needs and would likely require to reduce services and/or increase user fees. Staff and Councilmember Bessinger met with Congressman Fong, California State Senator Grove, California Assemblymember Tangapa, staff at the California Air Resources Control Board, and the chair of the California Air Resources Control Board over the past 6-9 months. In June of 2025, the federal government, through congressional action, removed the California exemption that allowed these regulations to be in place. However, public fleets are still required to comply to the regulations. This is in litigation still. In response to this, the California Air Resources Control Board held hearings on the Advanced Clean Fleet to consider amendments. Council approved and submitted a comment letter on this, and Councilmember Bessinger made public comments on it. So we had some results from that hearing. It was solely focused on the Advanced Clean Fleets, which is heavy-duty vehicles, think of trash truck, those kinds of things. The full ZEV purchase mandate was delayed from 2027 to 2030. And the 50% requirement begins in 2027 instead of 2024. Those were big wins for the city. It gives us more time to comply. They also expanded some exemptions and applied some different standards for emergency and specialized vehicles. So it was a fruitful effort. However, the Innovative Clean Transit, think buses, rule is not adjusted through this. The transit fleet is subject to challenging transition requirements. So we have buses are required to transition to electric where we cannot buy them. So staff has drafted a resolution and exemption request letter for consideration for submittal to CARB for the ICT rule. The comment letter seeks an exemption due to the need to acquire land for additional charging infrastructure, the need for PG&E to upgrade its electricity infrastructure, the need for the manufacturing sector to further develop zero-emission vehicles that can reliably meet operating requirements, and the resulting financial strain on the city that would occur to meet the ICT rule requirements. So that's before you tonight, and we were asking for action on that, and we have staff available if you have questions. Regardless of the vote, we will continue to engage on the issue with elected officials and any rulemaking processes that are made available to us. We'll pursue filing for any additional exemptions available under the current regulations. We'll continue utilizing any grant programs that help us with this, and if approved, we'll submit this request for the 5-year exemption for the ICT. And I will note that it's likely Clovis will be the first city in the state to submit an exemption. It's not a clearly defined process, so we are breaking new ground here. With that, I'm available for any questions.
Okay, any questions of staff?
I kind of want to follow up
Comments?
a little bit. First, an excellent report, and we did get them to kick the can down the road for 3 years on the Innovative Clean Fleet provisions, but the transportation one has not. Amy has done a really good job working inside with other transit agencies. We did have a conversation at least twice with CARB, and we asked if any other entities have submitted applications that have been approved, and they kind of looked at us like we were crazy. As far as, at least to date, at that time, either they had not been approved or the applications were rejected for one reason or another. We would probably be the first to, at the very least, get it in, or get the first reject anyway. And it's important for us to do this, whether hopefully they approve it and we're able to kick the can down the road while the technology improves and becomes more affordable, which I don't think either of those things are going to happen very quickly, or at the very least, in the event that we do not get it approved, we can now say that we have been harmed, and we can potentially work with other agencies in the federal government, or be a party to a lawsuit with other transit agencies and cities and counties on the implementation of this. This really creates everything that we're asking for exemption for, we're not making up. There is no power infrastructure for this. We don't have the land for it. The vehicles are not sufficient for our needs, and the costs are prohibitive to the point where we may be, and if our friends in the federal government decide to unfund transit, we have a difficult decision to make, whether or not we remain in the transit business. And I remember having a conversation with CARB at one point when I was with the air pollution control district, and I said that the people who are going to be hurt by cities and counties having to walk away from transit or charge more are people who can't afford cars. And I have to say, I got this look that was like, okay, but we're saving the world. This is an important first step for us, and I would support us submitting this.
Any other comments or questions? Go ahead.
I just have one
Diane.
question. I know we are rolling out our new bus routes and all of that. Is there any added concern or that with the new routes? Does that require more buses or anything like that as far as how we consider it? I think it was an excellent report, and I appreciate Councilmember Bessinger, all the effort that you've put into this on our behalf. I was just curious how the new transit stuff impacted any of this at all.
And we have Bethany. Yes.
Yes, we'll have Bethany take that one. She is the architect and implementer of those.
See, is it on? Okay. So yes, we rolled out our new routes today. We went from 2 main loops to 8 routes, so that expanded the number of vehicles that we need from 6 to 13. So if we move to electric, it's 2 for 1. So it would be 26 at a minimum.
Thank you. That's what I just wanted that to kind of be part of the conversation of the importance of submitting this letter and looking for an exemption, because I know you guys have already put in the work. I think it looks fantastic what I've seen as far as the rollout and everything. I think people are going to be really pleased with it, but that's already, taking more of our resources to implement that. And so I think that makes this effort to seek the exemption even more critical to be able to continue to serve our community with that service.
Just a quick follow-up, Bethany, how much more do the electric buses cost that we're going to need 13 additional?
So the electric buses, the costs are at least 60% more, and that really just, again, none of the electric vehicles that are available currently can meet the mileage and the range needed for our current routes. So that's why we get to the 2 to 1, because they'd have to be pulled off the route to be charged, and we'd have to put out another vehicle to maintain the same service that we operate today with our diesel vehicles.
And having these additional vehicles and not having the charging infrastructure it just doesn't work for us.
Right, so it's also having the charging capacity. So you can imagine, you know, if you've seen our courtyard, you know we're limited on space already. So adding the additional vehicles out there, there's going to be a parking issue alone, aside from being able to charge them in the yard. And they won't charge immediately or rapidly. It's going to take, you know, a slow charge for each of them.
Thank you.
I just want to say that when we went to the ribbon cutting for the Selma maintenance facility to see how massive and how much was needed just to maintain that type of fleet and what we would need. And so Amy, Bethany, thank you so much for being the experts on the ground. I want to thank Councilmember Bessinger for leading the charge on our behalf to hopefully get this exemption. Annie, thank you for helping with the letter. Any other comments or questions before I open up the public? Go ahead.
Just this is totally random. This part's not random. Thank you for your work. That's not random. But I wonder in the random idea. So we talked about economic development. I don't know in the Selma facility if there was job training as related to that.
Andy, do you have an idea? I don't recall them
I
talking
think there
about
was something in relation to job training on the new
Here's the
buses,
random
but-
thought. My friend at Clovis Community must have a little extra dirt out there somewhere. So is there some connection between training and what we would need for charging and economic development and land use that you could put together in a deal like that? I'm not sure, but they're not standalone endeavors. So it's totally random, but we just talked about jobs and training, and you've got land, and I've got buses, and you have people that want jobs. So there may be some interesting little thing there that we could think about. Sorry, random.
And this can lead to the annexation of Clovis Community.
That goes without saying, because it's in the, that's a given. But anyway, sorry, but that was the stream of consciousness between those points. So maybe there's things we could look at. I still think all the work is right, and it's a really dumb idea that they think we're going to get there, but maybe we can make the best of it somehow.
Okay. This time we're going to go ahead and open the public portion. If you have any comments on this item, you can address the council. Okay, seeing none, we'll close that. And what is the pleasure of the council with regards to our action here?
I'll make a motion to approve the submission of a request to the California Air Resources Board for exemption from the Innovative Clean Transit Rule.
Second.
Okay, we have motion second on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, next is council items. We have first one is a presentation update by city staff on the progress of Measure C. Staff on this is our Assistant City Manager, Paul Armendariz. And I just wanted to just give a precursor. I think this is important, especially this Thursday. I will be representing us on the COG, and I think any feedback from fellow council members and after staff's report, I think it'll help with regards to the direction that the city of Clovis takes as I go into the meeting. So go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. And that's absolutely correct. At last week's council meeting during council comments, Measure C was brought up and was asked of staff to give a brief presentation of where we're at on that. So more so for the public, Measure C, this is directly from the Measure C website. It's not a new tax. Renewing Measure C does not create a new tax. It continues an existing half-cent sales tax that has funded transportation improvements since 1986. This funding helps maintain our roads, public transit, and keeps infrastructure in good shape. So November 6th, at the November 6th Steering Committee, it was approved by a vote of 28-2, a proposed funding allocation plan. This is really a monumental vote that took place. This vote now is going to move on to the COG board meeting that the mayor had just mentioned. But what was approved by the Measure C Steering Committee is the high priorities proposal. So there are currently 6 different categories: existing neighborhood roads, public transportation, regional connectivity, active transportation, transportation innovation or other, administration. In the current measure, there's 6 categories. What's being proposed now are 5 of those categories. Active transportation is being proposed to roll into existing neighborhoods and roads. And in active transportation, that's trails, bike lanes, safe routes to schools. So that percent or allocation is now rolled into the neighborhood roads. What you'll see on the charts up there, the current measure, it's a side-by-side comparison. So neighborhood roads currently has a little less than 31% allocation. The proposal is moving up that allocation to 65%. Public transportation, transit is currently about 20%. The current proposal is now 25%. Regional connectivity is going down from 36 to 5%. Again, active transportation is going to 0%. However, that's being rolled into the existing neighborhood roads category. And then admin's going from 1.5% to 1%. And the goal of this proposal is to have about 70% of this funding go to roads, total roads, so roads and regional. The annual funding floor for smaller cities is now $400,000 compared to $100,000. And again, one of the main goals was to meet the pavement conditions for the various cities that are in the county. So what does this mean for Clovis? That chart to the left, I don't expect you to read all that, but that breaks down the proposed allocation for the 30-year time frame for each agency within the county. So that's one other thing important to note is that at the steering committee level, one of the items that was voted on and agreed to was a 30-year measure as opposed to a 20-year measure. So that's going to be part of what's going to be proposed as part of this measure. The allocation summary, one of the other items that was agreed to at the steering committee level is a formula split within existing neighborhood roads of 80% to 20%. So currently that split is 75% population to 25% road miles. Having a heavier weighted percent to population as opposed to roads is beneficial for the cities. The allocation for neighborhood roads goes from this is specifically for Clovis, goes from 3.7% to a little over 7%. That equates to roughly $542 million over 30 years. So should this pass year one, the city of Clovis would see roughly $9.5 million, growing to an annual revenue of about almost less than $30 million at year 30. Currently, we have an allocation of about $4 million, so it's more than doubling that allocation for roads. For public transportation or transit, the current percent is about 2%. That's going up to 2.5%. That means it equates to roughly $185 million over 30 years. Year one, that equates to about $3.2 million. Currently, we receive about $2 million per year, so about $1 million more each year, growing up to $10 million in year 30. Again, the biggest hit to this is regional connectivity, so that percent allocation drops from 35% to 4%. That's a competitive program where each agency has to put in a project list to get monies allocated. And then I mentioned the annual floor for smaller cities. So next steps, there's a follow-up steering committee meeting this Wednesday where they're going to focus on the implementation or implementing guidelines. So they're really going to get into the nuts and bolts of how that allocation inside of each category should be spent. Following that, the next day at the November 20th COG Policy Board meeting, the mayor mentioned, is approval or proposed approval of this funding allocation plan. The implementing guidelines won't be approved yet by the steering committee, so I don't believe there'll be that discussion at Thursday's meeting. Following the Thursday's meeting, there'll be a follow-up steering committee meeting tentatively on December 4th. To vote on the implementing guidelines. And then from there, we expect either in December or January, a COG board meeting to vote on the full package, including the implementing guidelines. And then it would likely go to the FCTA board for approval, back to the governing boards, the city councils and board of supervisors, and then ultimately, well, back to the board of supervisors to be put on the ballot for November. That concludes staff's presentation. Available for questions or comments.
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
What is considered a neighborhood road?
Neighborhood road or any local roads, also within that category, I think there's arterials, collectors.
Would Shaw Avenue example be a neighborhood road?
Anything but 168 Northtown.
Okay.
And it also includes alleys.
Alleys, I forgot to mention, was a topic that was discussed. So the implementing guidelines will specify that a little bit better, exactly what's included in the existing neighborhood roads category. But my understanding is it will include larger roads as well, not just residential streets.
Right. The big caveat here is we haven't seen the implementation guidelines, and so that will really govern how this money is spent. So until we get that, we can't really know the whole package. So
I will say one of the items that was pulled and really discussed was maintaining existing roads, potholes, crack seals, overlays, and so that would include, improving pavement or maintaining pavement throughout the city.
And what they gave us, Councilmember Basco, is the definition they use is street near home, schools, and parks, basic road maintenance and infrastructure, major roads, alleys, bikeways, sidewalks, repair and new, street lights, signals, and other safety measures, sidewalk and pedestrian safety, traffic calming. So all those were included, and then it's sort of just, there's no 10% has to be that, 3% of this 54 or 65%. So, but this is the general category that they've given us as a policy board, yeah.
Okay, and just the last question is that the city in Clovis would see a 3.5% increase? Is that what I saw there by going to this?
So 3.5% for neighborhood roads and about 0.5% for transit, public transportation
So the city of Clovis would see a 4% bump
overall,
if we were to go with this plan?
roughly.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions, thoughts?
I have just a question as far as apples to apples comparison, since the allocation pots are different and we don't have the same categories. With such a significant decrease to the regional connectivity or projects, whatever the term was for that, how is that like rolled into existing neighborhood roads? Is there an example of maybe a project that Clovis did that under the current measure was a regional connectivity project, but could then be funded by the neighborhood roads portion here? Because I'm struggling to see the genuine benefit and those percentage increases and making it make sense.
Yeah, without having the implementing guidelines, I don't know specifically of what will be included in neighborhood roads, but as far as regional connectivity, I can tell you over the last 20 years, we've used Measure C regional monies for Shaw widening, Willow widening, Herndon, those type of projects where we've widened and added some capacity. I don't know yet what the implementation guidelines will address as far as that type of project. I will say internal streets where there may be widening, that'd be considered a maintenance project, so we could probably still do some of those projects. I don't know beyond that.
And just to follow up on that question, the bulk of the 35.4, I mean, Clovis wasn't getting a huge percentage of that because a lot of it is like freeway interchanges. In other words, it's for the entire region, and some are major projects. So it's not like we were losing so much because we were waiting on certain projects. Maybe the Wolf interchange, something that I'm thinking about, our bridge. So I'm like, yeah. So it may not be that high, Clovis specific. Is that a good analysis or no?
I think that'd be accurate. Of that 35.4%, I don't know how much of that percent Clovis is actually getting. We did take a look back since 2007. I think we've completed 10 to 11 regional Measure C regional projects, about $40 to $45 million. So there is a part of that we've gotten over the last almost 20 years that we put towards regional projects. But the majority of that, you are correct, was interchanges, 168 a long time ago. Those large regional projects.
And on the region, think about the 180 extension, east and west, Academy Avenue. This has examples of major projects that were funded through the previous Measure C iterations.
Any other questions? Measure C. So how should I vote? No.
Comments, not questions.
Yeah, we'll take comments too, because I think this will be presented on Thursday. So, anything? I'm going to open up the public portion. Okay. We'll open up the public portion. Any ideas?
Yeah, my name is Steve Trevino. I live in Bullard. Any of this money, is it going to bike paths or like paths for like people riding electrical bikes and those scooters and that type of thing to get some of these kids off the streets? Is there going to be any money put aside for projects like that?
Did you have other questions too?
That's it.
Okay. Yeah, under active transportation, Mr. Trevino, it does include bike and pedestrian trail maintenance and construction, accessibility improvements, safe routes to school, and then SRTS, specifically allowing traffic lights and lighting. And so safe routes to school lighting. So it does include that in the, I want to say the pot, the general roads pot, because they moved it out. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing no. All right, direction, please.
So my two main concerns with this, number one, I think it is a little difficult to compare, again, apples to apples with the changes. But my two main concerns are it being a 30-year measure instead of the 20-year measure. I think that is incredibly difficult. And particularly my second point would be in light of the last item that we talked about with all the uncertainty surrounding public transit and zero-emission vehicles and the costs associated with the direction the state wants us to take. I think trying to increase that pot of public transit when ridership is down across everywhere in Fresno County except here in Clovis, and other cities and the region hasn't even gotten back to pre-pandemic ridership levels. So I'm incredibly concerned with the idea of increasing that pot when there's so much that we can't even plan for or expect. And so the fact that, again, that it would be a 30-year measure just exacerbates that concern for me. And I do remain concerned also that the regional projects pot got diminished so much. I'm very concerned with how that's going to work for the county as a whole with the various projects that were mentioned that had been funded through that portion before. So if that's kind of rolled into the roads amount, that really kind of lessens the roads money availability. Even if the percentage seems higher now, it encompasses so many more things that I'm not sure it truly is more money towards roads, which I think is really what the public, in all of the reports that I've heard from the public input and all of that that's gone on, the feedback has been roads, 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 roads. And so I remain concerned, again, without the implementation guidelines to really understand what the plan would be. I am not supportive of the direction it seems to be going at this point.
And if I may ask, I think I want us to discuss this. Help me formulate an argument on behalf of the city of Clovis to go, this is why we, Clovis, object 30-20 when we pass Y for eternity. So I want us to just be able to just, because I'm representing us, and so I know that you say that. How do I now articulate that on our behalf and go, we just passed a, no sunset measure, but for this one, we want a sunset. So help me formulate an argument so that way I know how to say it on Thursday night. And that's the first question. The second question is, with regards to public transit, I think we have to be specific to our transit. And so it has to be, what in the amounts that we're getting, are we saying too much? Amy, too much. We need 4 million less. We need 2 million. Because if it's just, I don't like public transit, do you want me to go in with a conservative mindset or a Clovis mindset on Thursday night? And that's to everybody here, if you're going to give me direction. Because it has to be, well, Amy, tell me all your projects, take out 15 buses, take out this, because we only need this much. And so that'll help me, because I want to argue concretely, not philosophically, because we have the numbers and we have the staff look, and I think Amy, you can look at the new numbers, or Bethany, and say, this is what we would do with it. I forgot how much percent. We're the third out of the public transit, so we get the least amount, or we get the 184 million. And so how do we make the argument to go, citizens, 130,000 citizens in Clovis, I'm going to advocate we take less. And so help me with that argument, if possible. And then the last one with regards to regional, same thing. What is our argument to go, I want more in the regional, because we need McCall. We need Academy. We need that. I think will help me, because then we can speak concretely and go, I'm in defending this on behalf of our citizens, because we use McCall so much to get onto the 99, whatever it is. That's what we need, because I think philosophical arguments It's just gonna be a debate. You're this, I'm that. You like transit, I don't like transit. No, we can speak concretely as Clovis. What if this 184 are we willing to give back? And to go, 1.9, 2.5, we'll take 1.5. If we can do that, I'm willing to advocate for that. But if our staff is saying, hey, look at this, we get almost a doubling. We used to only get 4 million, now we get 9.5 million. And so how do we as a council, on behalf of the 130,000 that we represent, go, no, I like our neighbors, let's give them some more. That's my struggle. Yeah. Please.
You want me to
help
start with number
Yeah.
one?
All of them.
Yeah. So the first question being about Measure Y and it having no sunset, et cetera. I think there's two things to that. Number one is that portion of it, I think, was something that I at least kind of wrestled with, but it was the consultant through community feedback that indicated that that was kind of what was supported by the community. I think the other key to that part is, again, kind of as it was brought up tonight, is that it is a general tax. It isn't a special tax, so it doesn't have the same constraints on it for the duration of that period. And so while right now, and I believe that it was presented to the public, it is police and fire, public safety heavy, I also believe that it gives us flexibility to shift that down the road as those needs get met. We can shift and do more deferred maintenance projects or parks projects or things like that as it goes. So I think the nature of the two measures is different in how it's allotted. And so again, that's my real concern with the 30-year measure. With all of those specifications built in, I think it is the opposite of flexibility. And so I don't think even where it seems beneficial to Clovis, the idea that we're locking in these allocations for 30 years, I don't think is in the best interest of a changing and evolving community. I also, what was number two?
With regards to
can
just,
remember? You wrote it down.
no, with regards to maybe like public transit, why?
Oh, yeah.
Why would we be willing to decrease our numbers?
So I don't think that would be my argument as far as looking at the numbers specifically, but knowing again that Clovis is the only area in the county that has seen increased ridership, the fact that we are at the bottom of that, I would have a problem with that. It's like, we're actually being successful at this. We are efficient in our public transit system, so why are we getting allocated so little of that? But again, my biggest concern with public transit right now is just the question marks that are out there as far as the direction that we're going to be able to head. And so even to have that amount of money, and I have no doubt that our transit team would do phenomenal things with it. I think we would have the Agua Vista Park of transit systems coming out of Clovis. But I just think the uncertainty of the landscape and the environment of transit right now, again, putting that out there for 30 years just seems not in the best interest of taxpayers and the community. And so it isn't, to me, it isn't simply a Clovis-only question, but on that one specifically, we're doing better with what we're getting, and so I don't understand why we would get so much less than the others. I would argue to give us a bigger portion of that pot, but I do think that the uncertainty of that, I don't know what you want to call it, but that whole industry of sorts is my problem with that allocation specifically. I also think the whole concept that the implementation guidelines are so critical to truly understanding what this measure is going to deliver makes it probably a little bit premature to even be offering some of these, considerations and thoughts. But then there was a third point also, and that was
regional.
Oh, the regional part. Yes. Okay. So I'll answer that one too. I think that the issue for me there is just recognizing, again, I think that's where the implementation guidelines for me are going to be critical to understanding the value of shifting that away, because one of the things, obviously, we've talked so much on this council is our growth, and as our sphere of influence, as our city limits keep encroaching on county roads and things like that, I see the need for regional projects that aren't Clovis-specific because we continue to interface with all of these different aspects of the county at large and the county itself specifically, that I'm going to need to understand how we're going to continue to fund those types of projects that actually not just benefit the whole, because obviously this is a regional measure and we want the regional connectivity, but those specific things that are Clovis related in those regional projects, I've seen those be the most important part of this measure as far as our growth and ability to continue to do that in a responsible way. So that would be my concrete, non-philosophical responses.
No, thank you. That's helpful. And then I guess the last question, if it was a 20, would you support it or no?
I can tell you for myself, I think, again, that would absolutely come down to the implementation guidelines to have a concrete understanding of what that meant. But I would at least be more open to it, certainly open. It's been 20 years in the past. I would still have the public transit concerns as far as the uncertainty of the atmosphere for that, but it seems far more reasonable, at least to consider.
Thank you. That's helpful. Go ahead, Matt.
I'm just trying to understand so when this all voted and it's a 28-2, who are the 28 people that, I mean, so this is regionally, 28 people came together and said, this is what we as a region think is best for the entire county. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, and 2 people were against how it was implemented, whatever, 2,
Yeah.
I don't know who it is, I don't care. So as you, as part of being part of that process, from the beginning, it seems to me that even though there are some questions, and I agree with, like some of the projects and stuff, but we don't know what that implementation will or will not be at this point. Is that correct?
That is correct.
We are seeing a significant increase as a city of Clovis to take care of the roads and stuff and the things that we need. So granted, we may not have the funding that goes along and says that, yeah, we can go put money into a new project, but our roads are terrible, and we're looking at a process of being able to fix these roads and not put slurry seal on things and actually, get out there in the community and fix the things that are our issues, our infrastructure issues. Growth is great, I get it, but sometimes maybe it's not the fancy design that comes with the project going forward now. Maybe we're not being able to put an extra roundabout in an area because that funding's not there. So, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know the nuts and bolts as much as you guys do on this particular case, but I do see numbers that increase it for the city of Clovis, which is what I care about. That's a significant number of increase over the years, whether it's a 20-year or 30-year, I don't know. I don't think that really makes a difference, to be honest with you. If it's 20 years from now, somebody else is going to be voting to extend the tax to something else. So I don't know if there's room in these bills for modifications over those years or not, or if it's set in stone. But for me, I just see that as such a big benefit for Clovis, in my own opinion, that I would support how it is now. I mean, obviously, I would like to see the infrastructure well, but that's a big number, a big help for the city. So that's my reason for saying I agree with how it is.
Thank you, Matt. Drew?
Yeah, I'm glad that you and Lynn have kind of taken this one on the chin. I know it's been difficult at times. And Matt and I are kind of the same boat. I have not gotten my brain completely wrapped around this. I would like to see the regional connectivity at a higher rate because of all of the roads that we're going to be putting in, especially in Heritage Grove, are going to be regional connectivity roads. But if you got to move on at that point. 20 versus 30, I can go either way, but quite frankly, with the issues that we've had with this current scenario, I think we go for the 30 and just kind of take a big bite of the apple.
Thank you, Drew. Do you have anything, Lynn?
So many things. I think a couple things. This is just a recommendation, so the COG board will look at this. They can send it back to the steering committee. They can try to modify it, or, you know, so I think it's still iterative. I do think the implementation guidelines are the magic. I don't know the definition of regional connectivity, so if that's a willow, great. I think there's probably some savings having the roads and bike lanes and trails in the same pot, because the complaint before is in the current Measure C, it's only for the road itself, not for the sidewalk, not for the trail. So you keep tearing it up or looking for more money. So I think there's savings that I can't calculate quite yet. I think the 30 versus 20 needs polling. I know they don't think they polled for that, which I think is sort of weird, to see what voters would say. I think I think maybe one COG recommendation could be additional polling. Now that they have some numbers, like, now let's see what are you going to say if it's this? So I would actually, I would think that might be a helpful thing. And the other thing that I think I like in here is the 10-year chance to review and start over, or, you know, modify. If buses go away and there's no buses, then we don't need transit money, or whatever that would be. So I think that's a positive. I think it's just a little, this is the result of so much work, and it's super imperfect. But I think, you know, most people do better. The county is not happy with the shift in the formula split, so I think that'll be a big issue tomorrow night or Thursday night. But I think it's a really good place to be, and we'll see what the COG board does. I think it's better for Clovis over time, and it's a regional measure. So we can't vote just our own interest, because if the whole thing falls apart, we have no interest. And if there's no Measure C, we got nothing. So that's what I worry most about. So I think trying to find yes in there somewhere is really what I hope happens on Thursday. I will be in the peanut gallery cheering you on, but we'll see. But I think the guidelines will tell us a lot, because you can't really judge, you don't know that stuff until you see the guidelines. And I think until we see that, it's sort of hard to do the math. But I do think this is a result of 28, 30 people, super different communities, totally misaligned on literally everything, finding a space. And I think that's really good for the community. So I hope that the COG board can find a way to keep going with it. We'll see.
Thank you. Anything else? Yeah.
I'll be there sure.
Okay. And in full transparency, I will go in with more of a Clovis-centric bias in my decision-making on Thursday, because I think that is something in which I have to protect our needs should this go away. And we'll see if there's any fiddling with sort of the percentages from the other mayors and from the county as we talk on Thursday. So, thank you. Yep. Anything else from the staff?
Thanks, Paul, for doing that.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Okay. No, this is very helpful. It gives better understanding and how we can finagle through and try to work together. Okay, thank you. With that, it's just a receive and file. Okay, and then item 14 is consider allocating $20,000 in funds from the city council budget to address food needs in the community. And staff on this is City Manager Andy Hausler.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So just a little bit of background on food insecurity. So this all started back at the end of September when the federal budget was not approved or adopted and it went into shutdown mode. November 1st, SNAP benefits were not funded for eligible residents. And once this was realized going into that weekend, our staff sprung to action, and by the next weekend, we provided meal kits to seniors over for weekends. And the reason for that was because we offer hot lunch every other day of the week, just not Saturday and Sunday. So through a generous donation, volunteers, and some city funds, about $2,500, we provided about 250 food kits over 2 weekends, and also provided a meal on the Veterans Holiday. On the 10th, the council asked for an item to consider resources for future food needs. On the 13th of this month, the federal government reopened, and I have confirmed with the county that SNAP benefits are now available to residents. So with that, we have a proposal based on council request to set aside an additional $20,000 from the city council budget in case of future food needs in this current fiscal year. That's a redirection of funds from the legislative effort that staff and council have been able to achieve without expenditure of funds. So last year during the budget, I requested some money to potentially hiring some staff to help us, consultant, et cetera, with legislative outreach. And I think you've seen just tonight how well we've been able to do with internal staff and leadership from this council on those issues. So we have not spent that money, and I don't plan to. So with that, I asked for that direction. We also, if asked, we can develop a goal for the long term on this and any resources needed in the 26-27 budget process for future years. So this would just be kind of a stopgap, see what happens. We had a lot of uncertainty around this issue the last few weeks. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mayor, for any discussion or questions.
Okay, any comments or direction?
I think this is money well spent. I think that, I know at least, did anybody here go to League of Cities this year? No. Okay, I didn't go to League of Cities, and that's a money saver for us, frankly. And, wow, the reason I didn't go to League of Cities, I don't feel like I'm included in any of the caucuses, and I'm tired of it. So I'm in favor of this.
And Mayor, if I might add, the original 2,500 we pulled from council travel budget because council has not used it. That is where we came from.
I didn't go because our book didn't win the prize. Because our book didn't win a prize. And it should have, so I was boycotting.
Any other comments? Okay, this time we're going to go, did you? Okay. Open up to the public.
Good evening once again.
Okay.
Eric Rollins. I live on Ashcroft Avenue in Clovis. I'm in District 1. I have some questions about this. I don't object to the idea of helping people here, so don't take it that way. But are you specifically planning on spending this money this year, or is this just a set aside so that we have it? That's one of my questions. 2, are we specifically planning on using this money through the Senior Centers program? And what do those meals cost per? How does that compare to, say, if the money was given to a charity? Are they more efficient with the money, or are we more efficient with the money? I would certainly object to us setting up another way if we didn't go through a charity. In other words, I don't want a Clovis government system for feeding people when we have charities. So those are all concerns. I don't see this as a huge amount of money, so I'm not really fighting about it. I want to feel good about we are using this money efficiently. As a challenge to all the council members, I would say that whatever you choose to do with it, is it an organization? Is it a way that you would be willing to put in your own money rather than taxpayer money? If it passes that test, then I'd say, yeah, we should do this. If it doesn't pass that test, then, you know, we got to look at a different way of implementing it or not doing it. Anyway, thank you for your time.
And Eric, it is a set aside, and so we won't use it unless it's needed. And Andy, do you remember the second question?
Yeah, so I believe the first question was, will we spend it directly? Only if the need arises. This is for gaps that we or our staff discover in the community. We may work with a nonprofit partner on those as we see those things. And then just for clarity, the kits cost us about $18 to $20, and they provided food for an entire weekend.
And I think for the 2,500, it was about 350 kits, 350 kits.
Yeah. So it cost us about $4,500, but we got a donation to cover some of that. Yeah. So it cost us about $18 a bag.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Trevino.
My name is Steve Trevino. I live in Bullard. You know, I don't know your finances, the city of Clovis, but I know that the mayor of Fresno, I don't remember the exact amount. I thought it was $100,000 that he gave to the
250? Yeah, 250,000.
250,000 to the Fresno Food Bank, and I think that the city of Clovis, you know, we're the second largest city in Fresno County, and we have one of the richest high schools according to TikTok. Clovis West, that's one of the richest high schools in the state, and here we are we don't have no money to give to the Fresno Food Bank. And so I think, I mean, I don't know, I mean, if you want to call me a cheapskate, that's fine, but, you know, I'm sure other people are going to call the city of Clovis a bunch, you know, a bunch of names, but so anyways, that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino. Anyone else?
Jenny Kren, live on Bullard. You know, this was a kind of an exceptional situation. A food need came up unexpectedly, and it was short-lived. It was managed. We stepped up, you know, when we needed to do so. But we don't know. There may be another problem, you know, come up at some point in the future. Maybe food. Maybe emergency shelters for some people, you know, an apartment building burns down or something like that. There may be some things where we do want to be able to reach up. And I think having the contingency, the capacity there is a good, you know, a good idea. So I'm in favor of moving forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, we'll go close the portion and bring it back to the council. Direction, discussion?
Just a couple comments, since I think I brought this up last week. I think my original idea was the food bank. Whoever said to a charity that could maybe do it better, somebody said that. So I think those are all options. I can also see a small food pantry in the senior center for future needs. I think the broader question, so in all my years of doing this, we've never given money to anyone like this ever. We barely buy a table at the Chamber of Commerce breakfast. So it's kind of new territory, and I don't want it to become like there's this need and that need, because there's always needs. So I think it's a little bit like the kind of rapid response in COVID, like, uh-oh, this is a problem, our restaurants need help. This was an emergency. We need a rapid response, and people can't go hungry. So I think we need to, at some point, craft a little bit of a framework around it so that we don't get lots of questions. Somebody told me today that the city council members in Fresno each have $1 million budget in which they give to people. What? Yeah. Okay, that's a thing, but I'm not saying any of that. We each don't want $20,000, no, none of that. But I think it's a rapid response to a need in our community in a basic need category like food, people that we're already caring for. If our Salvation Army still has a food pantry, that's another option. The food bank is another option. So I think that, to me, I love the idea. I think it's the right thing to do. It's what we do in Clovis. And if there's another way to do it that's more efficient, have at it. But I think having the money for a rapid response for basic needs for people that we care for, I think is important. So I'm really proud that it got here, and I appreciate the council agreement. So I'd like to make the motion that we consider that we allocate this $20,000 and maybe direct staff to come up with a little bit of a algorithm about what it looks like going forward. What's a basic need, et cetera.
Can we have a little more discussion?
Have discussion before?
First?
We'll hold the motion.
I'll still
for
make
now.
the motion, but when
Okay.
it's time. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I think some of the comments really tapped into what I was thinking with this whole thing. I had one question. I should have asked it before. I'm sorry. But how many people reached out with a need that we couldn't meet?
I'm not aware of anybody that reached out to us that wasn't taken care of. I know we delivered some bags to homes that people that reached out, and we had people at the senior center, but I'm not aware of anyone that reached out looking for food need. But am I getting a confirmation from the back row over there? No calls,
No.
yeah.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. That was my expectation. And so I actually really want to credit everyone who participated. I think Lynn's description as rapid response is really good. And I think it shows that even in that kind of surprise situation, we don't in this city have an insufficiency in process or ability to respond to those things. And so I think that's really important. I think, and it's even what Jenny Kren brought up too, it's like we don't know what the next thing will be. And so one of my concerns is the idea of it being a set aside for food insecurity. I don't know why we would want to hamstring those funds when the next surprise thing that would require a rapid response could be something other than that. And also because part of the staff report being that SNAP specifically is now funded through the end of September of 2026, and this $20,000 set aside is good until the end of our fiscal year, which is before that. Again, I think kind of tagging it to something specific limits our flexibility and our kind of, like I say, I was really proud and impressed with how quickly the community at large, but specifically our staff, and that was able to marshal the forces, the resources that were already available through how we do things with our budget process, that the city manager could allocate those funds from a transportation deal. So I think we've shown ourselves to be good stewards and in good shape to be responsive to that. So that would be my one caveat, and I think this will be an important conversation in the next budget discussions, what kind of deal we want to have for these types of things. But as far as this specific item, I would not be supportive of having it directed to specifically food insecurity. If we would like to make an adjustment and have it a broader topic for that or something, then I could be in favor of it.
Go ahead, Matt.
Just to respond to that, we have the ability to move that money again if we need to. So, I mean, basically, I just look at it this way. We're just allocating funds that gives us the ability to do the emergency fund type of stuff that comes along, whether it's food insecurity or something of that nature. If something else were to come along, we could move it to a different topic. So I only worry that if we start putting a broad paintbrush on a small pot of money, which is $20,000, that now it can be used for anything else as opposed to what it was specifically set aside for in the first place. So if we, we make it a broad thing, then what's the next topic that comes along? The next thing you know, we're saying, yeah, okay, we'll give 10,000 to that, and then when a food crisis could occur again, then we're stuck looking and saying, okay, where do we go with it? So I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just think that if we make it too broad, then it gives us too much leeway to do what we want with it as opposed to what this intent was for. That's my only concern.
Drew?
I think we leave it earmarked for food insecurity, and then we have this discussion come March, April, when we're doing our budget for next year. But Matt's right, we can pivot. The only problem we run into is if we're not having a meeting for 2 weeks, but if it's that big of a thing, then we'll have a meeting on an emergency basis.
So I'll leave my motion to stand as the way it is now, and I think, Diane, the point, I think when we can talk about how to put some guardrails around it, it could be more. And if it needs to be more 2 months from now, then we can adjust that. But I appreciate the work, I like the work, addressing budget food needs, whatever the solution is, us doing it, donors doing it, charities doing it, Salvation Army doing it is good. And there will be more, and there may be this may come again. So I'll make that motion as written by staff.
Then with the flexibility that's been identified, I will second it.
Okay. Motion second on for all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And nice job to the team at the Senior Center. And to Bethany, good job. And to Vong and Drew, who I see smiling in those photos. Nice work.
The second one was so quick. I got there at what, 9:04?
You missed it by like 2 minutes.
And
It was already done?
It was already done. They loaded the last bag.
I've got to call
Sorry that
out.
I could not get there. I felt terrible, but really good job.
Bethany
So great job, Beth.
hit a home run getting this done
Nice
for us.
job.
Yeah, so thank you.
Nice job.
Okay, next we'll move to city manager comments.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This Wednesday in this room at 5:30, we'll have a meet with the mayor and city manager. The discussion topic will be the national motto in the chamber. We'll be having a charrette-style input where you can come in and give us your thoughts on any changes to this room that are being talked through. So come on out. Planning Commission this Thursday. One of my favorite events in our city, One Enchanted Evening. It is that time. It is time to get into the holiday cheer on November 20th. Come to Old Town, support our local merchants, take a carriage ride, and get in the spirit. We also have a free Thanksgiving luncheon. Volunteers are needed, but there's no reason to be alone on Thanksgiving. Coming out and enjoy a party at the Senior Center. It is open to all until food runs out. We also have on Saturday, November 29th, pet photos with Santa out at Miss Winkle's. So we are getting into the spirit here. And our next council meeting will be the annual Christmas tree lighting at 6:30 to 8. Make sure you bring clothing to donate. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Mayor.
Okay. We'll move now to council comments. Councilmember Basco. Councilmember Bessinger.
I have three things. After the meeting last week, I sent an email to the, specifically the tobacco item. I sent an email to the mayor of Elk Grove and inquired about what they're doing with their tobacco regulation, and I have not heard back from her yet. I did speak to the director of the Air Pollution Control District Board about the lack of facilities to burn the tobacco products. There was a place called Coventa up in Moss Landing, and they would, or Crow's Landing, some landing, they would incinerate the stuff. Now they're out of the business because of environmental regulations, and our only choice is to spend $500 a piece, to the tune of $500,000 to get rid of these things. So what I want to do, maybe with the mayor of Elk Grove, and that's where, I can't remember the congressman's name now.
McClintock?
McClintock is up there. There could be a federal fix partially. There could be a regulatory fix through the state, and there is a assemblyman who's involved dealing with the permitted list of flavored tobaccos or non-flavored tobaccos. It just, listening to the PD presentation, it sounds like, well, it probably shouldn't surprise anybody that the tobacco industry is unscrupulous. You know, it's part of getting people into, they hook them on the Fruity Pebbles vape, and next thing you know, they're smoking 5 packs of cigarettes. So what I'm asking my colleagues to give me the permission to have conversations and then report back on a potential fix for the entire thing, or at least mitigate some of the harm for us.
That place that was it in Patterson that burned?
It was very close.
So it's gone altogether?
It's out of business.
Out of business?
Yeah. It was called Coventa, and what they had was they had all these biomass plants,
right,
which, because of environmental regulations, don't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was in Patterson somewhere.
That's it?
No. I will not be here for the December 8th meeting, and probably you got the same email from the city attorney's office. Our friends in Sacramento are going to require us to have budget training.
I love that.
Budget training required, mandatory for cities and counties and you know, city staff, from the same people who are running a $19 billion deficit.
Can't wait.
I just thought everybody would get a laugh out of that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember
Luckily, they won't be
Bessinger.
the trainers.
Councilmember Ashbeck?
Just two things. Well, I won't be here on December 8th either. So I don't know. There's nothing, don't read anything into that, nothing to be alarmed about. And I do have one picture to show, maybe. Oh, so someone sent me this picture and it made me cry. This is third graders doing their own Meet the Mayor tour in downtown Clovis. And they were having coffee in that coffee shop right there, and they saw these third graders walk by. And so they were using our book and doing a tour of Old Town as described in the story of Clovis. So that really made me happy. That was the intent. So we had our first group of future bears, so I thought you'd appreciate that. So it's fun to see. So that's all.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Pierce.
I have nothing.
Okay. I wanted to report out that our city manager and myself, we went to the homeless discussion with the city of Fresno, community organizations, and the county. And so The county is going to start to take over sort of the continuum of care, so it's sort of the funding that comes here. And so we'll see how that gets rolled out. They will be the managers of that group now, starting more outreach, changing the point-in-time count, meaning trying to do it yearly. Point-in-time is when they actually go out and count, and making sure that they are counting us correctly as well, meaning the homeless here in the city of Clovis. And then I think between the city of Fresno and the county, they're starting a homeless response partnership agreement, and how that looks like. I think we weren't even involved in that discussion, but we'll see if it broadens out to us as well. And so overall, you know, the meeting will continue to evolve and grow. A important number that the county put out is the total number of beds in 2025 is 2,969 homeless beds. And by 2028, it will just be 1,820 because of the transition of the current beds to permanent housing. And so the issue is sort of, what do we do? Is it an accurate number of homeless? Do we need more beds? Do we need less? And if we need more, where's the funding coming from? Looking at the funding streams, do we need to partner up with, you know, everybody who's involved in that processes that are help with the homeless discussion? So, question?
Can I ask a question on that? Was there more discussion on the, what were they calling it? Return to sender?
They already approved that, and
So
so
that
they
happens.
have that. They reported they sent someone back to Seattle, and a couple others, and so that, nothing to Clovis. But we were ready to respond if they were gonna say anything about Clovis again. But it was overall a very good meeting. We'll wait for the next one, and we'll go back out. I think our supervisor is there, and so is Supervisor Chavez. So, yeah, so we have representation from Clovis. So.
Can we get your husband to do a return to sender?
Yeah, a little PSA.
And then last week was the first Meet the Mayor. I want to thank some of the gentlemen here who came out and to come and meet me for the first time. And our city manager will have another one on Wednesday. That one, we sent out a broad invitation, okay? So to pretty much all the churches, to a couple of the temples in town, to just get the community out. And the staff is ready to really engage with those who will be here on Wednesday to hear feedback. And just to report out, the staff is doing a scientific poll, so that way we have sort of the community poll and also a scientific poll to report sometime in January, at the latest February, on what we get back. And so we will do that. And then I want to say happy birthday, 30th, right?
30th, yeah.
Yeah, and so to Councilmember Ashbeck. And I wanted to thank the staff.
Why'd you all laugh? At 30. Just kidding. Just kidding.
You look good.
It's not funny.
I want to thank the staff for being there at Wake Up Clovis. So to both chiefs, and Andy and Paul and Renee and Chad. And so thank you for being there to support our chamber and for us being a sponsor for that. And so with
You know,
that.
they only come because they don't trust us.
Right.
That's what I told them. You're all here because you don't trust someone to say, and the answer was maybe.
And that's all we have. Please come December 1st for the tree lighting, okay? We are now going into closed session with existing litigation is Desiree Martinez versus the City of Clovis. Any comments from the public on this one? Okay, all right. Close, and then I don't think we are expecting to report anything out, right, Scott?
Not requesting for action to report tonight.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for coming here tonight.